We going? Welcome to Adam Does Movies Live. I'm Adam. What day was it? Tuesday? We got a Tuesday night showing. It's a fun one. I brought my buddy Tony back from Hack the Movies, and today we're going to give off our top 5 directors working in movies today and from yesteryear. They might be dead, some of them, so spoiler. Maybe they'll come back as ghosts and make good movies again. Who knows? Tony, how you doing, sir?
Hi, Adam. Okay, so Alien 3. This is why I think it's good. Sorry, we already did that video.
Wrong video.
Oh, right. Sorry. I just had so much more to say.
Well, I don't think you said enough in our last movie feuds a week or so back, and that's probably why you lost.
That's true.
But
Is tonight a competition?
I didn't put a poll up. I guess I should have to say whose director picks do you agree with more. But I think, you and I chatted before this. Just because we have a top 5 here doesn't mean that that's like the be all end all. In fact, when I was making my list, I was having a hard time who I should leave on, who I should put off. But I think the Stanley rubric, for me at least, little play on words there if you like that, is directors that not only have made movies that have withstood the test of time, but also have kind of impacted how movies are made, or are just these like classics that I can't seem to get away from over the years.
Yeah, and for me, I picked 5 directors that have like influenced me personally, like
Sure,
where I learned like the most about filmmaking and who like influenced the works that I did in like college and stuff afterwards, and even some of the stuff I'm writing now that I don't talk about because I don't want to jinx anything. But yeah, so that's why I went from, because there's plenty of great directors who aren't on my list who I love, and I've probably seen their movies more than the people that are on my list.
I'm in that boat.
But I'm like, yeah, but I'm just like, you know what? Who are the 5 that really left an impact on me? Yeah, so that's my.
Do you want to just like throw out? We can do 3 honorable mentions.
Yes. How about you do that first, because I closed the tab where I had my honorable mentions up, and I need to find it again.
One of them for sure for me is Guillermo del Toro. He did some phenomenal movies like Blade 2. Hellboy 1 and 2. I thought he did Blade 1, but I don't actually think he did.
Nope, he did not.
Okay. He did the sequel, which I think is actually better. A
lot of people do.
Yeah, I like his just the way he infuses CG, even though it looks fake as shit. It's done in such a cool, stylized way that it just comes off as fun and full of like heart,
What I liked about him was he really blended the whole puppet and CG stuff that was real noticeable in Hellboy 2. Obviously, he does stuff like Pacific Rim where he can't really use practical effects, but even like Pan's Labyrinth, Shape of Water, he blends those physical suits with CGI so seamlessly. So yeah, he's a good one.
He the funny thing is, I'm not even the biggest fan of Pacific Rim. That's probably my least. I would not look to him for Pacific Rim when I'm referring to Guillermo del Toro movies. Nightmare Alley I just saw not that long ago, and that was actually a Patreon request for me to watch that film. It's really damn good, and that is like one of the sadder movies I've seen in a long time.
I missed out on that one. I did watch the show that he put together. I mean, he didn't direct it, but he was the host, the Cabinet of Curiosities. Yeah, I think the last movie I saw from him was maybe Shape of Water and Crimson Peak.
Did you like Shape of Water?
I thought it was okay. I thought it was a little overrated, but I thought it was okay.
I liked it quite a bit, but I do think, it was up for like a bunch of awards and people were praising it up and down when you have Pan's Labyrinth right next to it, which I do think is way about as brilliant as a film can get. Even I haven't seen some of these early ones, of course, because I don't know any movie before I was born, essentially.
You had to have seen Mimic.
Yeah, I have seen Mimic.
Mimic is great.
Like Mimic. I actually like Mimic quite a bit. The blind guy with the spoons in the sewer and those disgusting, I don't even, what are the insect bug?
Yeah, they were like things, bugs, right? And they put their hands together. Spoiler. They put their hands together to look like people, man. That was cool. And their wings look like leather jackets. Oh, man, that movie's awesome.
Mira Sorvino vehicle?
Yes.
Is the Alien 3 guy in there too? I forget his name.
The guy who played Dylan.
From Rudy?
Yeah, was that Charles S. Dutton? Is that his name?
It's not German.
Yeah, Charles S. Dutton. Yeah, that was him.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Charles S. Dutton. Yep.
Yep.
See, I know the movie. I'm very familiar. Okay,
a
yeah,
banger
I
of a
think
movie.
Guillermo del Toro's really good. Really appreciate him. Do you want to throw one out, or do you want me to keep going?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can do one. A runner-up, Robert Rodriguez. He almost made the top 5 list. He almost made it.
Let me pull up his page here. Robert Rodriguez. That's the Spy Kids, right? I assume that's why you like him, from Spy Kids.
Specifically 90s and a little bit early 2000s Rodriguez.
You'll be happy to know, Tony, he has a brand new Spy Kids film coming out.
I saw the trailer for that today. I usually, when people bring that up, I'm like, okay, I'm not counting the movies he does for kids. But stuff like by the way, Desperado and El Mariachi were super influential to me, like especially when it comes to action. I've tried to like mimic some of that action stuff in those films. Love Once Upon a Time in Mexico. The Faculty is great, From Dusk Till Dawn.
I can't say I loved Once Upon a Time in Mexico, although it did have the fun line, are you a Mexican or a Mexican? I always thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. And then Grindhouse was fun. I wanted Machete.
No.
You don't like Grindhouse?
Planet Terror was the better of the 2-part Grindhouse vehicle, but I had a miserable time watching Grindhouse.
Oh, I like both. Machete was a letdown because you could tell Machete was like, because I remember at the time at Grindhouse, they're like, we shot 50 minutes worth of footage. And then when you watch the movie, you're like, oh, you guys really had to struggle to come up with the rest of that movie, didn't you? But no, Faculty is great.
Yeah, what's with him in that? Dusk Till Dawn's kind of the same way. It's 75% this bizarre Quentin Tarantino style flick, and then the last 15 minutes is the good stuff, the vampire killing.
Yeah, that's fun. I actually liked, he actually remade From Dusk Till Dawn as a show a while back, and the first season was just the first movie but stretched out, and he expanded on the lore, and I thought it was actually really good. It's one of the few movies turned TV shows that are actually decent. But yeah, then everything after Sin City, I kind of
Sin City is great. I love Sin City.
Yeah, I didn't bother with Sin City 2. I saw the last 20 minutes of I saw the last 20 minutes of Alita at a gym, and I was like, oh, this is the movie everyone pretended to like, despite Disney, and now Disney owns it.
Alita's like the greatest film ever created. I don't know what your problem is. I actually, my whole family saw Alita in theaters, and we did enjoy it quite a bit. Haven't watched it ever since, but we had a good one-time watch. I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel. I know that I
just thought it was funny. Everyone
like,
just spited it, and now Disney owns it.
Yeah, Disney owns it.
But yeah, Rodriguez.
All right, I got one for you. Are you done with Rodriguez, or you have more to say?
Yeah, he's just obviously they teach mariachi and stuff in film school, and he has got a lot of good ideas for like early filmmakers. That's one of the reasons he's a runner-up for me. But he has not impressed me in a long time.
I hear you. Okay, I'm in the same boat as well.
Yeah.
I got Edgar. If this director is wrong, I don't want to be right on the list.
I have him too. He almost made the list.
I think it's, again, this is going to be a thing you see with me in a lot of these lists, is I haven't seen a lot of the early stuff by him, and it looks like, I don't know if these are actually movies or shorts. You know, whatever,
some of them might be music videos.
Okay.
Don't was the trailer he made for Grindhouse. Yeah, a lot of these look like shorts or music videos. You should definitely at some point check out the show he did, Spaced, with Edgar Wright and Nick Frost. That's kind of like where they blew up.
Okay.
Shaun of the Dead.
Those guys are so good.
Dude, that show is good, and it's full of movie references, and you would really, really enjoy that show. Plus, the second season came out after Phantom Menace, so most of the second season is about how much they hated Phantom Menace. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
I feel bad. I still haven't seen Last Night in Soho.
So I have seen that. I have not seen The World's End, which I've heard mixed things on. I know it's part of the kind of whatever universe with Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, which are both fantastic. I love those movies so much.
Out of the trilogy, that was my least favorite, but upon rewatch, it gets better with rewatches. The first time I felt a little left down, but I've watched it a few times since then. It's not one I want to revisit a lot, but the few times I have revisited, I loved it.
Sure. Definitely.
And I love Scott Pilgrim as well.
Scott Pilgrim is like a top 50 of all time for me. That movie is so good. Baby Driver, I really did enjoy it. I did feel like the final 20 minutes was kind of a letdown. Like it didn't end on another banger high-speed chase, which whatever. still a great movie. And Last
Yeah,
Night in Soho, Tony, it's Edgar Wright for sure, but again, I think it kind of drops the ball in the last act quite a bit.
I'll give it a shot at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah.
Okay, any more on your list?
Well, I had like I guess the big one. I'll throw out like a few small ones, but like Francis Ford Coppola is one of them. Sam Raimi, definitely Sam Raimi. But Ridley
Scott.
Ridley Scott, I love his director commentaries. I can hear, I can listen to that. Not anymore because now he sounds like an old alcoholic, but like in the early 2000s and stuff, his commentaries were great. He would talk about like what he did wrong and how the audience overreacts to certain mistakes he made. He hasn't made anything good in a long time. Martian doesn't count because I think he was a last minute replacement for another director, and that movie was like ready to go.
I love The Martian.
Yeah, but when I was watching it, I'm like, when I was watching it, I'm like, how come all this other shit sucks and this movie's really good? And then I found out like he wasn't supposed to be the director. He kind of just like stepped in.
He kind of
I think, if I'm remembering that right, that's what happened. Kind of like a Peyton Reed replacing Edgar Wright in Ant-Man. He just kind of stepped in.
Where is
but I love, obviously, Alien is the movie that made me in love with films.
Of course.
G.I.
Jane also.
Obviously, love G.I. Jane.
Tony, yeah.
Gladiator was a big one. I have a review for Gladiator coming out. Legend. When I found out there was a director's cut of Legend and it was so much better, that was great. Blade Runner.
I've never seen this movie. Someone brought it up recently in a live stream. I don't know what this is.
It's pretty good. You should watch the director's cut. But that's another fun one to listen to his commentary because they built all these big sound stages and there was too much natural gas from all the plants and stuff. So one of the sound stages blew up. So like the forest in the movie was supposed to be way bigger, but they had to compensate for one of their sound stages blowing down. So he makes fun of that. And I think in Gladiator, when all like the flower petals are falling in the stadium, if I remember right, one of the guys was like, "Why'd you do this?" He's like, "Because I tried it in Legend and it didn't work, and I wanted to try it again." So he's just he's a really fascinating filmmaker to listen to. He has a wide variety: science fiction. He's got some horror in there.
I had no idea he did Matchstick Men.
He did Matchstick Men.
That's a good flick.
I think Hannibal is underrated, and I have a whole video about that. But yeah, Ridley Scott is probably my last runner-up, and of course you got like Spielberg and whatnot. But
Tony, I'd like to pride myself on women in tank tops and being able to spot the actress.
Okay,
is that Dawson's Creek girl herself,
Katie Holmes? Why don't you click on it? Let's find out.
I think that's Katie Holmes. I'm wrong.
No, it's Marion Cotillard, my co-star from The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh my God, I was way off. Oh, I can see it now. I can see it now.
Well, that's from 2006, so.
Well, there goes all credibility I had at spotting women in tank tops. Okay.
I think that 1492 movie, I think that's about Christopher Columbus, Italian hero Christopher Columbus. that Italians aren't allowed to celebrate anymore.
Oh, that's the new one coming out, right? I haven't watched.
Napoleon. Yeah. I gotta check out.
Did you see The Last Duel?
No, is it good? Because every other movie I've seen from him lately has sucked. Is Last Duel good?
I didn't mind it. I actually kind of enjoyed it, but it does the thing that I'm not a big fan of. It does the whole he said, she said style of storytelling. So you get half of the movie from the perspective of you get a third of the movie from Adam Driver's character, a third from Matt Damon, and the final from the female Cormac or whatever the hell her name is. I'm not familiar.
I know you're talking about.
Let me look up her name quick. Jodie Corner. I was close.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think it's a decent watch.
Okay.
But nothing more, nothing less. I don't know if I need to bring up any more. I think I had one other one I was gonna talk about. Let me look back on the notes here. Do you remember my last one I was gonna say?
The list that you had?
The list that I spewed out. I guess it does. Oh, I was going to say Richard Donner and Alfonso. I can never say his last name.
Cuarón?
Alfonso Cuarón. Yeah. We can bring up Richard Donner quick. Alfonso Cuarón, I really, I think he's just a brilliant director as far as how he frames up shots in the long takes. He's really known for those long shots, like in Gravity. The camera's flying all around Sandra Bullock. That movie was a roller coaster to watch in theaters, IMAX 3D. He did Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, a lot of people's favorites, because it visually just looks completely separate from the rest.
I really liked his version of Great Expectations when I was younger. His adaptation of that story. I don't know how it holds up now.
I saw it a long time ago as well, but I think easily his greatest movie for me is Children of Men.
That's a good one.
Top 100 for me of all time. Brilliant film.
Someone shared it on Twitter, the long shot with them attacking the car, and I'm like, man, I forgot how good that movie was.
It's so good. And there's 2 or 3 of those long shots throughout the film. Plus, you just have this war-torn Europe backdrop. Clive Owen, everyman Clive Owen, who I don't know what happened to him. Where did he go? Where did Clive go?
Around. I'm looking it up right now.
City, he was in.
Where is Clive Owen?
I think he was a cameo in Sin City 2 as well. But that was one of those weird movies where I don't know if the actors were actually back or if they just repurposed footage from the first movie.
Look! He was the voice of Jason and Louis. Or maybe you remember him from the TV miniseries Lizzie's Story. Did you watch that one?
Oh yeah, of course. Critical Darling, Lizzie's Story. Yes.
And in 2020, it says he was in one episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So he's around.
Well, I love Curb. I don't remember him being in it.
I haven't watched the last few seasons. Oh, here we go. The last big movie, everyone remembers it. Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets.
I did not
Clive
see
Owen.
that. Oh my God.
How could you not want to see Luc Besson's spiritual successor to The Fifth Element, Valerian?
Is that the one with the Chronicle dude who is just an Oppenheimer?
Yes, and the model that Hollywood wants you to think can act, but she's
the twerking chick and the Enchantress from Suicide Squad.
Hollywood keeps Cara Delevingne. They keep thinking they can pass her off as an actress, and it hasn't worked.
I feel like
a single time.
I feel like both those two are kind of like they were pushed on us for a while, and they just didn't do anything.
I like Dane DeHaan, but he was a miscast in that. But we could talk about that another day.
Okay, final one I want to just quickly show. Let me bring it back up really quick. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Richard Donner. The Lethal Weapon, what is called? Quadrilogy?
I don't know what the real... No, the Alien movies made up the word quadrilogy. I don't think that's a real word. I think it's called something else.
The Criterion Collection, Lethal Weapon movies. He much like... Who was it we were talking about before? Who has his dude that he always works with? Oh, we haven't mentioned him yet. Never mind.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned him yet.
Okay, well, Donner's a big Mel Gibson fan, hopefully just for his acting presence and nothing outside. But, I mean, he's got Lethal Weapon with him. He's got Scrooged. He has
Scrooge is
Maverick.
great.
Maverick
Superman
is
the movie.
so freaking good. I love Maverick. Yeah. More people need to watch it. I'm not talking about the Tom Cruise one, which is also great. Yeah. But the country western comedy Maverick is gold. It's got Foster, it's got James Gardner, it's got Mel Gibson, of course, and a whole bunch of others, plus a really fun tip of the hat to Lethal Weapon.
Yes.
He did a little movie too called Superman.
Yeah, that's my go. I just got the 4K restoration of that, the whole 4K Christopher Reeve box set. But ironically, the one movie that I used to watch of his a lot as a kid was The Omen. That was that. By the way, The Omen was like one of those, like, when people talk about movies from their childhood, I'm like, yeah, The Omen was a big one for me. And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, I love The Omen. That movie was awesome.
That's great.
I love that.
I thought you were gonna say The Goonies. Kid. Goonies.
No, I actually don't like The Goonies.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting.
You know what?
Take that back.
You know what? I think it's because I didn't like it that much, and some kids got real defensive that I didn't like it that much, so then I decided I hated it.
Oh, yeah,
maybe I should rewatch it. Maybe I don't actually hate it. Maybe it's just been decades of spite.
I think it's spite. That's how I already am with Sound of Freedom, a movie that I said was very mediocre, and now I still
haven't seen it.
So many people have been awful.
if any of you were there for our last live episode, I accidentally watched The Sound of Freedom from 2010, the Russian Jazz Club movie.
Accidentally, yes.
I was so embarrassed that I watched the wrong one, so I couldn't review the movie. I felt it was a shame. Well, I know you're a big fan of The Toy. That's your favorite Richard Donner movie, right?
I've never seen The Toy, not to be confused with Toys with Robin Williams.
Oh, God.
That was a weird-ass movie.
Yeah. No, The Toy is like some kid. The guy's like, what do you want? And he's like, I want Richard Pryor. So Richard Pryor is basically this kid's like slave or something.
Seen that movie. I you know what? I saw it when I was really young, and I thought it was probably a fever dream, and I never looked at it again. The Goonies, though, I've seen probably 20 times. I still love it. 16 Blocks, I think, is pretty underrated, or it's at least never talked about. But that's what I consider the final Die Hard movie. You know, John McClane kind of goes out with a little bit more grace and a little bit more plausibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to get into the big ones? Should we get into?
Yes, I do.
Our Criterion collection, as it were. All right. Let me find the right. I have this all tabified out, Tony. It's going to be what it is.
Awesome.
It's going to be a disaster. I'm just going to say that right now. I have to stop sharing this. Remove. Okay. There we are. Okay. You know what? Maybe we should read super chats in between. So we'll do a super chat amount. We'll see the ones that are there. And then after we do our 5 each, we'll do the final super chats that come in. Please super chat. It's basically the only way I make money on YouTube. Tony can attest to this. YouTube is a full-time job, and I already have a full-time job and a family. So it's 2 full-time jobs for the price of fun.
Yes, and remember, I will only be answering $500 super chats. So if you want me to,
he's very specific about that.
I love coming in and big leaguing. No, I'm kidding. I won't answer anything.
Really peacocking the high price point. Master Sergeant for a $5 super chat says, "I'll say it. Tommy Wiseau is director." Boom.
Is director, not a director.
He's making fun of Tony, a little ongoing joke here. Running joke is, I don't know if you ever notice on the X, do we call it X? Twitter?
Yeah, I call it X. I only call it X.
Of course, super genius Elon Musk's new branding of Twitter, X. Whenever a new movie comes out, there's always the fake reactions to those films, and it can set your watch to it. There's always 3 or 4 comments that say, Halle Bailey is, capital IS, the Little Mermaid or Ariel, what's another one? Buzz Lightyear. So Chris Evans is Buzz Lightyear in the new film.
Who the fuck would ever say that sincerely?
It's so obnoxious, but that's the kind of crap that comes through every time. So yes, Tommy Wiseau is director from critically acclaimed hit The Room.
Yeah,
on my movie roast list.
I do want to read the book that the actual director of The Room did, the guy who pretty much ghost directed. I think Seth Rogen played him in the Disaster Artist movie. He wrote his own. Yeah, he wrote his own book about what happened and how he basically kind of directed that terrible movie. He didn't write it, but he's like, because Tommy Wiseau didn't know what to do. So that was
behind the scenes on The Room are so fascinating to me. Just the amount of money wasted, the double camera setup.
Yeah.
So all right, we got Jan Rose in the mix.
Okay.
Thank you for the $5 super chat, Master Sergeant. Thank you, Jan Rose. My favorite director is Mike Flanagan. I'm obsessed with all his movies, especially Ouija. God, I hate reading that word. It's so unnatural. How it's Origin of Evil. He knows how to do horror. Amazing.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. The funny thing about Ouija, like the Ouija board movie sucked. It was terrible. And then they pretty much, because he was still kind of up and coming, he did Oculus right before that. And they were like, hey, you want to do the Ouija board movie? You don't even have to pay attention to the first film. And he made it a prequel anyway, just to test out like doing a follow-up.
Really?
And it's so good. That movie is so good, and it has no right to be that good because it leads into a terrible film.
I assumed it was going to be terrible based on the other ones.
Yeah, well, the first one was just like a cash grab, whatever. But he actually put effort into the prequel, and I don't know why, but it paid off for him because now he's one of the best. I'm actually a sad Dr. Sleep bombed. They shouldn't have called it that. I know that's what the book was. They should have called it Shining 2 or something. But yeah, he's killing it.
They
He
made it
is
Shining
killing
2, Tony. They already made it
Yeah.
Shining 2. I didn't care for it.
What? That Dr. Sleep, or is there a different
Yeah,
one?
Dr. Sleep. I didn't
Yeah, that's
care
what
for
I'm
it.
saying. He directed it.
Yeah, I don't like that movie.
Okay, never mind that.
Yeah, I don't like I'm sorry. It's not for me.
That's okay.
Jonathan S, $2. Thank you, Jonathan. I think people still sleeping on Dennis I never know how to say his last name.
Villeneuve. I like him.
Let me look at his catalog.
Yeah, I really liked what he's doing with Dune. I liked Prisoners.
Oh, yeah.
I like Prisoners and Arrival. Blade Runner 2049 is shit, and I don't know why people pretend to like it so much. Screw all of you. The original is better. Stop pretending it's bad. Stop saying it's boring, and then pretending 2049 is good. It's boring and bad. But a lot of his other movies are okay.
I'm kind of under the opinion that both movies are kind of boring. Blade Runner 1 and 2049.
Strong
but 2049 looks beautiful. He knows his way around a camera. I'll say that. Prisoners, great looking film. Dune, beautiful film, and I think Arrival is just a stunning movie.
Arrival's great.
Yeah,
I love that IMAX is not letting the Marvels play in their theaters. They chose Dune 2 over putting the Marvels in IMAX theaters.
Really?
Yeah, because Dune 2 is going to look so much better than the Marvels.
Yeah.
That's the one you want.
So I read something because I went to Google, and someone in the comments said that the Marvels cost like $500 million to make. So like, there's no way that's true. So I Googled it quick, and all I could find, I couldn't actually find the budget right now, but it said within the first couple months, it had cost them $160 million. And that was before they basically scrapped and redid it all. So they might be right. It might be a $500 million film before you add marketing and stuff to it.
But Dune is going to look better because unlike Marvel movies, which are stitched together in post at this point, Dune is based off a book. They know what they're doing. They probably storyboarded the first Dune movie's effects look great. They look phenomenal. So
you're talking about the new one? Did you say?
Okay.
I was gonna say. I don't know the last time you saw the original Dune.
Oh, I'll talk about it when we get to one of my directors.
It's not holding up the best. Okay, we have Ninja, beautiful $4.99 super chat. Looks like Ridley Scott was the only director for The Martian. Tony's a liar, is basically what Ninja's saying. Drew Goddard was in talks, but took a different project.
Really? I heard he came in last minute. Maybe
ladies and gentlemen, I 100% apologize and take responsibility for having this clown on my channel.
I could be
misinformation, trying to discredit Ridley Scott. Hey, Tony, did you ever watch Raised by Wolves?
No, I haven't.
So that's a Ridley Scott vehicle. I'm pretty sure he directed some of it, kind of like David Fincher directs the first, couple episodes of projects. That movie is bonkers. Oh, really? No, I'm sorry. That show. It went 2 seasons on, I think, HBO, now called Max, and they canceled it, unfortunately. But I really enjoyed the kind of shit show that it was.
I should check it out. I heard things about it.
You would like it because it's so insane.
It looks like Drew Goddard wrote it.
Oh, you're still trying to dig yourself out of this? Yeah, it's over.
I thought they were developing with him. Maybe I mixed something up.
You just got ninja'd. All right, I'm moving on. Tony can figure out his life. King Cold with a $5 beautiful super chat. Thank you, sir. Does the video of you guys' first meeting still exist? John Carpenter, one of my favorite for me. Tony, do you still have the footage of us outside the waterfall, embracing underneath, and then the rain starts to come down in slow motion, the stars come out at night? I don't know if I have that footage, but I should check. I should check and see if Andy Signor still has that debate video. Yeah, so Andy Signor, how do you say his name?
Signor. I say Signor. I've never been corrected.
Signor, who knows? The guy he used to be at Honest Trailers
Screen Junkies.
Screen Junkies. Yeah, they do Honest Trailers.
He got wrongfully ousted. And
I don't care. I don't care about the drama. All I know
that's how a lot of people know him for. So I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, he does like drama stuff now.
Yeah, he invited us on to do a debate for the Ghostbusters movie. I don't know if you can find that video because he totally pivoted into kind of what I would consider gossip columnist, like tabloid type content, which I find
and it worked really well for him.
Yeah, it's absolute trash, lowest of the low. Like I make no, I mean, it really is, but it's working. It's making him tons of money, and so whatever. People like smut. Okay, speaking of, let's go to Matt Sclero, a fan of the channel and a friend, Tony. Adam, you can't talk about Sound of Freedom anymore. At what point, Tony, he scolds me. I say a friend, and he instantly scolds me. At what point, Tony, in The Sound of Freedom, did you realize you were watching the wrong movie?
Well, I never realized because, like I said, I never saw a poster or a trailer for the Sound of Freedom you guys are referring to, so I assumed it was the right movie.
Yeah,
thought it was weird that we thought it was weird people wanted me to watch a Russian jazz club in the USSR. I don't know, but I gave it a shot.
That's where we're at. Okay, that's it for the super chats right now. Please send more at the end. You send them in at any time. I'll read them at the end. You have a question for Tony or I, movie related or otherwise. Maybe we'll get saucy with it.
I will say anything you want me to say within reason. Like you can literally just send money and be like, Tony, say, just give me a name of a friend of yours and I'll say they suck. Yeah, I'll say Baba Booey.
Hey, I'm walking here. You can say that.
Be like, $5. Can Tony say I robbed the whatever store on this date? And I will say it. I will say it.
Can Tony please incriminate himself and take the fall for me? Land on this sword. Okay, let's go to Tony's number 5. So we have our number 5 spot for directors right now. Tony, the floor is yours.
So yes, David Lynch. Everyone knows I'm a David Lynch guy. I put him on the list because he kind of got me to change the way I thought about like more artsy films. Because like in high school and whatnot, I thought they were all stupid. And then in college, you got to watch a lot of experimental stuff. And I could never really jive with a lot of it. I thought it was all dumb. But a friend of mine in college introduced me to the show Twin Peaks, which he directed the pilot of. And, he was one of the creators of it. And it had enough of a story to grip me in, and then it weaves in these kind of like weird, bizarre, just mysteries and just weird, otherworldly things. And I'm like, I kind of like this. So then I checked out a few of his other movies, like Eraserhead. Eraserhead is very bizarre. I don't understand a lot of it. It's very dreamlike. This is the first time I got into like surreal, dreamlike films. But again, there's enough of a narrative to keep you going and not fully tune out, at least for me. And then after that, I got hooked. Like I watched The Elephant Man, which is a little bit more simpler because it's a true story, but Wild at Heart, I love. I know you reviewed that recently.
I did, yeah.
Again, weird shit in that movie. Weird, unexplained shit. But the plot is basically Wizard of Oz, so you can kind of follow along with it.
And Nicolas Cage going full Elvis for most of it, which I did appreciate.
Yeah. But then he has like real haunting scenes in his film. Like I don't know if you've seen Mulholland Drive, right? I think
I just rewatched it and reviewed it on the channel. Another bizarre Patreon request, of course, a couple months back. And I have to say, I watched that back in high school and I thought nothing of it. I didn't really care for it. Upon rewatch, I enjoyed it way more the second time. I wouldn't be surprised if most of his movies work that way. I could see watching Wild at Heart again and appreciating it a lot more.
Yeah, so Mulholland Drive is an interesting one because it was going to be a Twin Peaks spinoff and it was filmed as a pilot for a show. So that's why I think there's a lot of weird random shit. I don't know if it'll ever be explained, but it probably would have been explored further.
Sure.
But you've got like that scene where the two guys are at the diner and the guy's just talking about his dream and the vision he saw. And then like, he's like, okay, well, let's walk to the other thing and to prove that it's not real. And then it is real. Like stuff like that. Like I remember seeing that in college and like freezing up and being like, I was not expecting that. But also in that film, like I said, there's haunting imagery and whatnot, but then you have the wacky hitman who fucks
Oh,
up the
yeah.
hit, and he keeps like killing the wrong people, and it gets more and more like, is this a fucking comedy bit inside this
It's
weird?
so bizarre. It's so surreal. The whole movie's a trip.
Yeah, Blue Velvet is great. That one's a little bit more grounded in reality, but there's enough weird shit in it to keep your attention. And also, what's his face? Dennis Hopper is incredible as the villain in that. And then Lost Highway is another one where I don't technically know what's happening or what the point is, but I'm engaged the whole time. So yeah, he really got me to change the way I thought about like surreal artsy stuff, and I attempted to do stuff like him in college to varying results. But yeah, now I really love his stuff. And he's just a very fascinating, interesting guy too. He's a real fucking weirdo. I follow his YouTube I follow his YouTube channel where he just every day uploads a video telling you what the weather's like. He did a short film on Netflix called oh god, what was it called? It was literally just him interviewing a monkey about a murder.
Of course, as one does.
What did Jack do? And it's fucking hilarious. It's like the monkey talks. It's so good. And like you said, he did do Dune, the original Dune movie. And he learned a lot from that movie. He learned to like get final edit on your film, or else it's going to be chopped up to garbage.
Yeah, I don't even like hate that Dune movie. It's just it's very old. It's very dated. The effects, it's tough.
Fans have put together like all the deleted scenes and stuff, and like restructured it, like recut it to how it should have been according to the original script. It's free on YouTube. I don't know how, but that cut exists. But yeah, he'll never return to do like a proper director's cut.
I think,
and like I said.
I think it reaches the, whatever the limitations are after 40 or something years, it becomes almost like public property. So a lot of those really old movies you can't actually just find on YouTube. I watched Thunderbirds Are Go a few days ago, straight off of YouTube.
A lot of them, sometimes I feel like these, like whoever owns those films don't know about content ID on YouTube and they just don't put them in there.
Just don't care.
Yeah, and then like Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, the movie was really good. I didn't like it at first, then I grew to like it. And I love a few years ago, they're like, hey, David Lynch, come back to do Twin Peaks. You get like 18 episodes or something. Just do whatever the fuck you want. And he just did whatever the fuck he wanted.
That's awesome.
And then he ended it on a cliffhanger again. They were like, wait, you ended on a cliffhanger 25 years ago, and now you come back. Everyone, like a bunch of actors died as soon as he was done filming, so they'll never come back. And he ended the show on another cliffhanger. I'm like,
God.
Bravo.
Is Twin Peaks the one that's kind of, I guess not inspired? Alan Wake was inspired by Twin Peaks. Is that real? The video game?
Probably a lot of it has been inspired. And like I said, but speaking of Twin Peaks, not to plug, but the Tony Peak shirt is back on the Retroware store, available for purchase. If you want me in the tiara like Laura Palmer, it could be yours.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I like Lynch. His movies all have some kind of dark comedy to them. They're very haunting, but very engaging and entertaining. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people in the comments right now going, "What a pretentious hack!"
Sure. I put that comment in there. Yeah. No. David Lynch is fine. My number 5 pick is honestly probably the lamest you could possibly get. So let's go to it. And that's James Cameron. I was very close to not having him on my list at all because I do not like Avatar 2 at all. And I already know what the next 30 years of James Cameron's career is going to be. Yeah. And spoiler, it's not for me based on Avatar 2. However, the man, the myth, the legend has given me, and I think many people here, some of the greatest movies, just full stop, in the action genre sector. We have Aliens, the spiritual successor to Alien, took things in a different...
Not a spiritual successor, it's a legit sequel. What the fuck are you talking about? It's a spiritual successor. It's a sequel to Alien, you asshole.
Took things in a completely different direction, changed the mythos, or I should say made the mythos, because in Alien, we don't really have anything to go off of Ridley Scott's film. So Cameron really kind of crafted this world with the xenomorphs. There's a name to the aliens. There's the queen. that's producing these eggs. We get a lot more of that. Plus, we just have a bunch of badasses going around with big guns and Bill Paxton yelling "Game over," which I appreciate. R.I.P. of course to Bill Paxton.
Yes, of course.
And then you have the Abyss, which I haven't seen this movie in a while, but I remember it being haunting and beautiful at the same time, especially in that second half. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then he ruined it with that dumb ending. He added that to the director's cut. They made the ending like way too long. It was lame.
I didn't see the director's cut. I tend to just go with what the theater provides because I'd say it's a 50-50 split on whether the director's cut's actually better. And sometimes they add so much bad. I just watched, Tony, not to get too into the weeds, but we're a Dumb and Dumber family over here.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, Dumb and Dumber was on Prime or something for free, and I didn't want to go get it out of the DVD closet. So we put it on, and the movie was way longer. It had such horrible pacing, and there was all these extended scenes that weren't funny. And I realized I was watching some fucking director's cut of the Farley Brothers movie. It ruined it.
Does that version have the thing where they cut to like the kidnapped boyfriend? He has his own subplot.
Yes.
Yeah, lame. I've only ever heard about it, and I never actually watched it.
And there's like, the scene when they're in the hot tub bath, they're at the motel for just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the hot tub like suite. The scene in the version I saw, the director's cut, goes on for like 5 minutes. It's this whole backstory. It's really bizarre.
You know what? It's funny you're mentioning director's cuts because his are very like the Titanic director's cut's too long. Terminator 2 is way too long. The director's cut, there's only a few scenes. The only scene you need it from Aliens to be put back in is Ripley finding out her daughter died. The whole stuff with Newt's family getting caught, like attacked by the aliens, you don't need any of that. Yeah, I don't know why he like needlessly goes back and just like, pads out his film, other than just sell copies of DVDs and Blu-rays.
That's usually the name of the game. Yeah, I usually avoid director's cuts like the plague. Anyway, The Abyss
depends on the movie.
It depends, but again, I've really only Peter Jackson's director cut of The Lord of the Rings are about the only thing I'll actually revisit.
Yeah,
True Lies. I feel like this out of all the Arnold movies is talked about the least, and it's one that doesn't really get brought up that often. And True Lies is freaking gold. This movie from beginning to end is like peak Arnold Schwarzenegger action film, married with James Cameron's brilliant style of filmmaking. Some hilarious moments. At some point, it stops being a movie about a secret CIA agent. And it starts turning into marital problems, the film, where he kidnaps Bill Paxton and starts interrogating his ass. It's so good. The little segue it does is really fun.
I really enjoy True Lies, and they haven't been able to recreate it. Like I said before, they made a TV show a few months back, died in like a month. And then that horrible Netflix show, Fubar, is basically True Lies, but what if his daughter found out he was a spy? And I gave up 3 episodes in.
I mean,
but True Lies is solid.
It's on point.
I actually brought up True Lies recently. We were shitting on Dial of Destiny and how horrible the horse chase scene was. And I was just like, it just reminds me of better stuff, like the horse chase in True Lies, where he
goes through the hotel and the motorcycle takes the jump.
And he wants the horse to jump off the roof, and the horse like stops. What kind of cop are you? Because he doesn't want to jump.
There's so many good moments. I feel like 10 movies have copied the scene, and maybe this isn't the original version to do it, but it's the one that I remember the most, where Arnold is given a truth serum drug and he's handcuffed and he's like, I'm going to kill you both. And the guy's like, well, how are you going to do that? He's like, because my handcuffs, I undid them or whatever. And then he kills him exactly how he said he was going to. That's been done in like 5 or 6 other things.
I think Drew Barrymore did it the best in Charlie's Angels, where she talked about how she was going to jump on that guy and then moonwalk out of the thing. But then she didn't really moonwalk. But yeah, I like Cameron, but really,
I love how that's your takeaway. She didn't really moonwalk.
Kind of trod it backwards. It wasn't a moonwalk. I know what
you're talking about. It was really awkward.
Yeah. But yeah, when it comes to Cameron, the only ones I really revisit are just Aliens and Terminator 1 and 2, more 1 than 2. I'm a bigger fan of 1.
I will revisit True Lies, if nothing more than to see Jamie Lee Curtis putting on that fantastic striptease.
If you can, I'm hoping they finally put it on like Blu-ray. I think they said he was finally going to get around to do it on Blu-ray.
He's really kind of an ass, isn't he, about releasing his stuff? Spielberg is like that too on some of his films, but I think he's got
also. Can we point out Piranha 2 shouldn't be on there? He got fired a week into that movie. He didn't direct that movie.
Yeah, I don't know why because he was directed something, so they have to throw it in there and ruin it.
And I know he's done documentaries. I think I watched one of them.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah, because he's really into the ocean exploration.
Ghost of the Abyss, I think I watched. Titanic. I loved all like the technical side of it, but the movie, I have a whole review on that too. I've actually reviewed pretty much all his movies. Titanic, the story just drags so much.
I'm in the same boat as you are. I'm not.
I hope it's not the Titanic.
I just watched the Futurama with my family where they're on the space Titanic.
Space Titanic.
So good. My kids hadn't seen Titanic yet, so half the joke, like the whole joke was lost on them, but they still liked it from us.
Speaking of boats, after this video that we're doing, I have to watch Speed 2 Cruise Control, which I think came out the same year, and if you ask me, much better. But yeah, Avatar, I didn't care for Avatar.
Much better. Speed 2 Cruise Control.
Yeah, I didn't care for Avatar the first time I saw it. I was hyped up for it, and then I watched it, and I went, okay, that was whatever. And then my friend forgot his credit card, so I had to pay for his ticket. And then my cousin wanted to see it like a few weeks later, and she said she'd pay me back, and then she forgot. So I spent like $40-$60 on a movie that I didn't care for at all.
Yeah, well,
and I didn't bother.
Gets you.
I didn't even bother with the second one. And I think it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, you don't need to bother with the second one. Terminator 2, you should though, because Judgment Day is about as great as the sequel can possibly get, and it's one of the major reasons. Really, James Cameron only needs Terminator 2 and Aliens for me to be like, this is the guy. Yeah. This is the guy.
Yeah,
Terminator 2 is just stunning.
Terminator 1 is still my favorite. I feel like if it had the budget and the music from Terminator 2, it would be so much better. But I still really like the first Terminator.
Terminator 1 though has some badass music. I like the synth.
It does, but like the second one kind of tells sort of the same story with very few differences, but the production value's up. I'm like, man, I wish Terminator 1 had this kind of production value.
Your foster parents are dead.
Still
the best. All right, let's move on. We got to get through these. We have Tony's number 4 pick, John McTiernan.
John McTiernan. Yes, John McTiernan is probably responsible for my love of the action genre.
Quick note, Tony, this is the one that I almost swapped with James Cameron, but since you showed me your list ahead of time, I'm like, okay, we're covering some of these other people. There's another one on your list I almost put on mine. So we do have definite cross-pollination of lists.
Yes. I mean, he hasn't directed too many films, but the ones that he has, like Predator is my favorite action movie of all time.
It's really good. Anytime.
I love Predator. It's my favorite Arnold movie ever. And yeah, he just knows how to craft an action film.
Yeah.
Better than anyone else was doing at the time, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe James Cameron could give him a run for his money. But then you have Die Hard afterwards, which is so incredible.
Die Hard is the best, man. It's just peak.
Yes, and if anyone brings up the debate, please watch my short film I did last year where I turned it into a Christmas movie. Die Hard,
more of a Christmas movie.
More of a Christmas movie than it already is.
It already is a Christmas, yeah.
And again, he Predator takes itself very seriously, which is pretty funny. And I love hearing his commentary track too, where he just points out, like, I didn't realize, it took me years to realize how kind of self-aware it was. Like in his comment,
I was going to push back on you because I don't feel like maybe it was accidental, but I always felt like it was kind of in on its own joke, and that was half of the charm.
A little bit.
These guys were growing around. They're the best of the best, cocky, and then they just immediately get eviscerated by this threat.
It doesn't have as much wit as his later movies does, though. But no, it is self-aware to a point. Like I love his commentary track where he's talking about like the minigun, and he was pointing out this, like, there's absolutely no reason anyone would have this in the jungle. It's heavy. It runs out of, but it's meant to be mounted to things. You're not supposed to carry that gun. But yeah, Die Hard is phenomenal. There was plenty of twists and turns.
Anytime I think of Predator, I always reminisce about every single person that incorrectly inflects how Jesse Ventura says, "I ain't got time to bleed." Because every time I'm around someone, they're like, "I ain't got time to bleed." Like, why he doesn't say it like that? He's like super cash. He's like, "I ain't got time to bleed."
I ain't got time to bleed.
Yeah, he's just.
I ain't got time to bleed, Adam. I was the governor of Minnesota.
The governor, my old stomping grounds.
Thank you for voting for me, Adam.
I don't think I was old enough to vote at the time.
You know, at some point,
I was old enough to see Die Hard, though. And
speaking of Jesse Ventura and Terminator, me and you should talk about Abraxas one day. His Terminator ripoff he did. But yeah, John.
But now I'm interested.
Oh, we're gonna have fun with that. Yeah. So Die Hard again, like he knows how to do the explosions and everything, keep you engaged with a somewhat ridiculous premise. I love how he kind of saved Predator a little bit. Like I learned a lot. And again, I like directors that I learned from, and even he, when they were making the movie, was like, "This monster is not working. This monster is garbage." Like as soon as they pulled it out of the box and he saw the suit, he's like, "This is terrible. We have to start over with this monster. Film anything that doesn't have the monster, and let's start over." And that was like the best decision ever.
Yeah, it's the Jaws approach, right? You keep it hidden.
Yes, which was always the intention, but eventually it had to be revealed, and the original monster looked terrible. And then you have Hunt for Red October is really good. Out of all the Jack Ryan movies I've seen, I haven't seen the new show. I think Hunt for Red. I know it's the first one, but I think that's the best one.
Is that the one with the mutiny? I always there's like 4 submarine movies, and there's like Crimson Tide and
there's like K-19. No, that's the one where there's like the Russians develop like an ultra silent sub, and Sean Connery kind of goes AWOL with it, and they're trying to hunt for Red October, this sub. So
it's in the name,
and then Jack Ryan has to like investigate. And then, of course, I have a full review coming out for this. Die Hard with a Vengeance. He came back after that second one was just kind of meh, and he completely
by Rennie
Harlan,
who did Long Kiss Goodnight, which is an awesome movie.
Now it's so funny because so with Die Hard, he kind of created this whole genre. Maybe it existed before, but Die Hard,
Die Hard was the show.
Popularized it. Kind of like Halloween's not the first slasher, but it popularized it. It
did for action movies what John Wick has done for them in this generation.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's the thing. So every other like the sequel to Die Hard, and then all these other movies were just Die Hard on this, Die Hard on that. Yeah. So he comes back with Die Hard with a Vengeance, and the whole formula is completely changed.
Well, you know why, Tony? It's not a Die Hard formula. That's why it's a Lethal Weapon formula.
That's Lethal Weapon. No, that's a misunderstanding. But no, actually, every single Die Hard movie besides 5 started off as something different.
Hang on. I thought I read that it was a repurpose of Lethal Weapon.
No, I read that too, but that is not true. The writer made a script. Yes, that is false. It's also with the Speed 2 thing. Speed 2 started off as Die Hard 3.
I've been peddling this misinformation ever since.
Dude, it's not your fault. It's like everywhere. But like I knew this like rumor like must have started in the last few years.
No, I read this in a magazine on like Entertainment, whatever it was called, way back when I was in when this movie came out. It wasn't much longer that I heard this rumor, I guess.
But maybe it got misreported because like he made a script called Simon Says that was turned into this. But anyway, Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, like he just outdid himself with that one. He completely like reinvented his own formula. And then Last Action Hero is where I kind of learned that like it helped me along with another director on this list to like understand parody and pointing out like he kind of makes fun of his movies in Last Action Hero. Whether you like the movie or not, I understand.
I never really cared for that movie, and I really tried because I love satirical humor. I love parody. Naked Gun is one of my favorite comedies. Hot Shots is up there. I just felt like Last Action Hero was missing something. I don't know what it is. Maybe humor. Maybe that's what was missing. I didn't find any of it very funny.
I did like how it kind of he was kind of making fun of himself and like the whole genre that he was like participating in. After Die Hard 3 gets a little sketchy. The Thomas Crown Affair remake's not that good. People like 13th Warrior.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, let's not scan over Rollerball. I mean, what are
I
you
did
doing?
like Medicine Man back in the day. I need to revisit that. Yeah, Rollerball, the movie where he didn't like the producer and then got an investigator to wiretap him, which led to John McTiernan going to jail for a year, being sued by everyone because apparently he was wiretapping a lot of people.
Wow.
Great,
Okay, full Nixon.
great action film director, not good at getting away with wiretapping. Is the
Gotta
point
get
I'm
away with
trying
it.
to make.
You gotta get away with it.
But yeah,
you
he kind of birthed my love of the action genre, the over the top, guns blazing, explosion action genre. Without him, I don't know. I don't even know what kind of movies I'd be watching.
You're nothing without. You're nothing without him.
Probably dumb Disney stuff. I don't know. Be one of those guys who watches Disney and Harry Potter. A real loser, we call them. Adam.
I would say a flexible, kind of well-rounded, well-adjusted individual who doesn't
not loser. Loser.
Well, I think the real alpha male is one that's comfortable with his skin and his taste in films. Speaking of alpha males, let's talk about Quentin Tarantino. Tony and I were debating if it's Quentin or Quentin. It says Q-U-E, so I don't know. I guess I always said Quentin.
By the way, Adam, I get it. You have a foot fetish. I know you're trying to sneakily work it in there, but I get it.
Feet. I'm a simple man. I'm a simple man. So does he. Do you think that he just has 7 screens playing the Barbie teaser up at all times? Like Margot Robbie's feet going across. He's like, I had her in Once Upon a Time. What was I thinking?
The sad thing is there's a bunch of directors that I love who I've not seen their most recent movies. I still haven't watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
It's a long movie. It's a very long movie.
Yeah, so is Hateful Eight. I went to his 70mm roadshow presentation of that. I'm like, that movie did not need to be long.
You didn't like that movie?
No, I liked it. It just didn't need to be that long.
It's very long. Yeah, it's a stage play, right? He presents it like a stage play with different acts.
Yeah, the problem with modern Tarantino, I feel, his editor dying, I think, hurt him a little bit. Like the editing of his.
He had an editor. I thought he always.
Yeah, he had a female editor, Sally Menk, edited all his films. I think up until Inglourious Bastards, and then she fell down a hill in California.
Oh my god.
Died. She was with her dog. I think the dog made it.
She fell down the hill and died.
She died like a horrible death. But
Quentin's can we save the feet? Can we salvage the feet?
But then afterwards, like Django, which I liked, Hateful Eight, I liked. Yeah, but there was something off about. I think Django she didn't do. Either way, Hateful Eight, there was something up with his editing. But I love his filmography before that.
Yeah, I mean, Reservoir Dogs is a classic.
I have a bunch of Reservoir Dog figures just off camera here.
Pulp Fiction, obviously, is like the gold standard for him. It made having pointless conversations cool. I don't know how, but I guess when you put Samuel Jackson in the room, everything kind of gets a little cooler at the end of the day.
There were a bunch of ripoffs of that as well.
Yes, there were. Yes, there were.
Yeah, I always liked Reservoir Dogs more than Pulp Fiction. I like Pulp Fiction, but not as much as Reservoir Dogs.
What's your favorite? Oh, by the way, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that's definitely the weakest for me as far as his catalog goes. Actually,
more than Death Proof?
I take it back. I'd say Death Proof is his worst because it's really nothing for 90% of it, and then a car chase with his stunt girl. I'd say Death Proof, then Jackie Brown is my second least favorite. Then I would throw Hollywood up there in third. Kill Bill being my favorite.
Kill Bill 1 and 2. I know a lot of people don't like 2, but if you look at them as one movie, I really enjoy both.
I need to rewatch 2 because I've had like a massive chip on my shoulder about the ending of that movie for so long. I need to kind of like somehow get over it, I guess, and calm my feelings because I love Volume 1 and 2 is 80% there for me, but the whole bullshit black and white Superman monologue with the nipple twist to kill him just did not work.
Have they released, because I remember when Kill Bill came out, I was in high school and I got super into it. A good thing about Quentin Tarantino is he will get you interested in all the films he's referencing and kind of inspired by it. So I went down a rabbit hole of like kung fu action movies and stuff. I went to a convention and I tried to get like the Japanese release of Kill Bill where the big bloody scene was in color. So
Oh,
like I was like one of the guys in high school and like college who had the full color fight scene. I don't know if they've ever released that in America, not black and white. I have to check that out. But yeah, I love that whole. I just love Kill Bill. I think it's a really good story. It's well crafted. I like the non-linearness of it.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
Some people are not a big fan of the non-linear stuff. I really like it when it's done well.
Well, that's why he's on my list. Just because all of his movies, he doesn't have a ton either, but they're all very different from the next. He goes out of his way to hit up different genres and to like challenge himself, which a lot of directors don't do. They tend to rest on their, oh Jesus, I almost ripped my ear off, Tony. This corded headset.
Wait, you almost ripped your ear off? Like, hold on. Oh God, like the cop in Reservoir Dogs who got his ear ripped off.
Oh, we brought it in. We brought it together.
Which, by the way, I just knocked over Michael Madsen and like a bunch of other stuff doing that. I forgot it comes with like a set, and I forgot his feet were like pegged to the board, so I just knocked
dancing around it with the blade. What's the song?
Yeah.
What's the song again?
Stuck in the Middle with You.
Stuck in the middle with you. I feel like he was also. I know he wasn't, but that's the first movie that stands out to me to use an unconventional song for a torture type sequence. Yeah. That one jumps off. A lot of movies do that now, where they'll use some like random fucking Disney type song and a horrific thing.
I learned a lot from Mr. Pink in that movie. Like, always hide until everyone kills each other and then just run away.
That's just smart. That's just smart.
Just
strategy.
Look out for yourself. And I definitely.
Okay, Tony, this next pick on your list was almost in my 5 spot. The reason it's not is because I've only seen 4 of these films, but I love them.
Yes.
Go ahead. You have the floor.
I love Stanley Kubrick. As a kid, I watched The Shining a lot, and I really like, again, classic kids film, The Shining. My mom was really good at picking movies for me to watch. I watched The Shining, and then one day I stumbled on a documentary about him because I thought The Shining was on, and I realized I was watching a documentary, and it's called Stanley Kubrick's Life in Pictures, I think. And I just, for some reason, watched the entire thing, and I fell in love with the guy's like whole life story and all his films and the behind the scenes of his films. And yeah, he was a very fascinating director. He didn't direct many movies, if you think about it.
But he directed the hell out of the ones he did.
He directed the hell out of them. He was very, he kind of like Christopher Nolan. He really like pushed the boundaries of filmmaking.
Right.
Because like 2001: A Space Odyssey, like a lot of those miniatures and stuff still hold up to this day. They look beautiful.
Well, I would say kind of like Tarantino, he really went in different branching paths with his films. So he tried totally different movies. He's got a sci-fi film, and then he goes to this horror psychological thriller.
Yes.
I don't even know what the hell you call Clockwork Orange. That movie is just
Yes. He really knows how to like get under the audience's skin and make them very uncomfortable. Yeah. Throughout all this, like The Shining, like a crazy alcoholic dad wanting to murder your family. Clockwork Orange, you have like a crime-ridden not post-apocalypse, but like a dystopian future.
Plus,
rather.
Well, yeah, and then the rehabilitation of a psychotic,
which is actually my favorite. A lot of people like all the beginning stuff in Clockwork Orange. That movie kind of picks up for me like during the rehabilitation, and then when they reintroduce him back into society. That's like my most interesting thing.
That's the stuff I like too. I didn't realize it was hated. I thought that was kind of what made it fascinating.
Yeah. Full Metal Jacket is incredible. I love it.
It's an epic film.
That's another one where people really like the beginning more than the later half, but I'm just like, I kind of like all of it.
I can see it with that just because it's more focused on the training and the military based stuff. I never saw, this is sad to say, but I never saw Dr. Strangelove, which I know is kind of like Kubrick for a lot lot of
Dr. Strangelove is hilarious.
Okay.
Freaking Peter Sellers in that movie is spot on. George C. Scott, one of my favorite actors, spot on. You get a young James Earl Jones in there. It was just having a lot of fun with all like the Cold War hysteria at the time.
Would you say it holds up if I were to watch it today?
I think it's honestly like So like basically like one of the guys goes like rogue.
Mhm.
And he's like headed, I think, to like Russia with a bomb. And there's a part where like in the war room, the American guy is like calling someone and trying to explain what's happened, and the guy's like freaking out. And he's like, look, yeah, so one of our guys, he went a little funny in the head. And he's trying to have a conversation. Then there's a part where they're arguing. And I think that's the line where they're like, guys, there's no fighting in the war room. And then
In
I
the
think
war
Peter
room.
Sell,
There's
yeah, and
no
then there's
fighting
like
in the war room.
there's a
That's how it works,
character.
though.
Yeah, there's a character who's like obviously an ex-Nazi. Dr. Strangelove, the titular character. He's like a former Nazi, so it's part of that Project Paperclip. It's just a fun comedy. And like none of his other movies were ever really that funny again. His last film, I love, Eyes Wide Shut.
I didn't see that either.
Well, again, like with him pushing the boundaries of filmmaking, like there's this big party in the beginning of the film. And he had the cameras and the film stock like custom made so he could use natural lighting with like all these candles and stuff. So yeah, he like Nolan, he really like pushed like what you could do with cameras and whatnot. And yeah, he pretty much has a lot of really good films. I've only seen Paths of Glory and his other stuff a few times. I've seen Spartacus. My grandfather was real into those like historical epics. But no, 2001, Shining, and Eyes Wide Shut, Full Metal Jacket are like my favorite.
Nice.
They're just really good visuals that tell a really good story, and I think he wrote most of them too.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it seemed like it's with just the style of these films and how they flow.
And I would say check out the documentary. There's 2 documentaries on him, but I think Life in Pictures is like check that out because he was a real fascinating guy.
Fantastic. Let's go to my. You mentioned him quite a bit, so let's just roll out the carpet for him. Christopher Nolan himself.
Yes,
behind Oppenheimer. This guy.
Yes. I almost put him on the list, but I didn't want to seem biased because I have worked with the man.
You've worked with him, of course, as everyone knows. Tony,
everyone knows.
Incredibly famous. He was in The Dark Knight Rises, what
most
people herald not only the best Batman film, but the best of Christopher Nolan's works.
And I agree with that. But I didn't want to pick him because it was obviously biased. But yes, he is very, very good.
There's only one movie on this list that I haven't seen, and I heard it's good, and that's Insomnia with Robin Williams. Have you seen Insomnia?
Yes, not for a long time. I actually still have the VHS tape of it. I want to pop it in soon. But yeah, I think it's actually a remake.
I didn't even know he did Insomnia until just recently. Did that come out post Memento but pre The Prestige, or where does that fit?
Yes, I think it was post Memento and like right before Batman Begins. I remember at the time, like even as like when I was like 12 or something when it came out, I remember like because I was into those kind of like dramas investigating murders and stuff like Seven, Silence of the Lambs, but I remember it had a really cool visual style.
Okay.
And it really stuck out to me. So I remember hearing when he was going to do Batman, I'm like, you know what? That seems like it could be good. But yeah, Insomnia is good. Following his original film is really good from college. I think it was out around like when he was out of college. That's a good time. But yeah, you usually don't go wrong with him until recently. I don't know how you feel about him recently.
Well, what do you mean, Oppenheimer or Tenet?
Well, not Oppenheimer. He won me back. Dunkirk, I was a little let down, and I never felt the need to rewatch. And Tenet, I just straight up didn't like.
So you'll notice I have a 5-star rating on Dunkirk. I love that film. I thought
really,
I was. You know what blew me away more than anything? When the movie was done, I found out it was PG-13. I don't think another director has made me feel so much tension and so much like shock and awe for a movie that's PG-13. I could have swore it was R. I thought there was carnage and stuff everywhere, but there really isn't. I saw it a second time. I took my grandpa, who was, I think in his 80s at the time. He's still kicking at 96 years old. Amazing man. But he couldn't. I mean, I think that's half of it for me was that second experience with my grandpa, who, has lived through a lot of shit, of course, at 96. Yeah. But just his visceral reaction to everything going on and taking in all the scenes. And it was just an incredible experience. And the way Nolan plays with sound, for better and worse for some people, I think is just on a whole other level. Yes, there's some audio issues with people talking, which I've never had. I think people just have shitty hearing. That's what I'm getting into, Tony. I think that's the take.
I don't remember. I reviewed Tenet on my Patreon when it hit streaming. I'd have to rewatch my review to see if I had an issue with the volume. I don't think I did.
I remember it's the same, but I had no issue.
I had no problem.
Yeah,
no problem with that. I remember going to Mission Impossible 4 to see the beginning of Dark Knight Rises, and I remember people complaining about Bane's voice, but I thought it. I remember from
good.
My memory of, because they changed it afterwards. That's why he sounds a little weird in that movie. Like no matter where he is in the room, it sounds like he's right in your face. I think because they got freaked out by that like preview and everyone complaining they couldn't hear him. But maybe because I saw it in like an act. No,
part of me at this point, I'm so cynical at this point that I feel like it might be a marketing tactic they just use every time with Christopher Nolan. Like, he fixed the audio. There's a new version, so then they go out.
No, their favorite marketing thing with Christopher Nolan is like he doesn't use CG, and it's like, oh bullshit, he uses a ton of CG. Just because he doesn't use as much as a Marvel movie doesn't mean he's not using CG. Like,
wait,
fuck
are you
off
telling me
that.
they practically bent all those buildings over themselves in Inception, or they actually shot a lot of the film in space and then made a holographic bookshelf?
He uses CGI better than most modern filmmakers, but I don't know why they play up this whole angle that he's not using CGI. It's like, no, you can pretend you can just say he's using it well. You have to pretend he doesn't use it at all.
Yeah,
we're not idiots.
I would just say he uses it when it's appropriate. He's just good at visually using what he can at his disposal.
Yeah, and I like that he kind of like tells these. He's good at like blending like this kind of like sophisticated story and then mixing it with like big budget blockbuster schlock and kind of making it work.
Yes, yeah, he tricks you into thinking that the movie's smarter than it is, and the dialogue's typically witty enough where you're fooling yourself at that point. Although Dark Knight Rises was a little too dumb in the plot department for me, although I still enjoy that movie plenty. I think he gets really good performances out of his actors. Tenet,
yeah, I'm gonna pretend you didn't just say that.
I cut you deep there. Yeah. Tenet, I will agree, is his weakest film, and that wasn't that long ago. But I did watch Tenet twice. I don't know why I did, and the second time I liked it quite a bit more when the pieces started to make sense. You talked about nonlinear storytelling. Christopher Nolan's the master of nonlinear storytelling. Yeah. Sometimes he gets it a little wrong and he goes a little too out there, and Tenet was definitely one of those movies.
Well, I remember after like his Batman movies and Prestige, I went back and watched Memento, and I couldn't believe how good it was. I'm like, this movie I've never seen a movie like this before. This is great. Yeah. I really got into Memento after that. I enjoyed the Prestige. I love
Prestige. I love that.
I think some of the sci-fi stuff, it just, I don't know. I know it's hinted at very early on. Yeah. But I feel like the first time I saw it, I'm like, wait, he could just clone? And I'm like, wait, but it clones also the clothes and everything else. I'm like, what are the limits to this cloning? It just really, it made me like really think.
It's cloning all the atoms and particles that go through the thing, Tony.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just
understand science?
Why wouldn't you just like keep cloning yourself and taking over the world? Like,
well, that's why I love the film. The fact that the trick itself is so stupidly simple because it's just two guys that look identical, go through two different doors. And the fact that Hugh Jackman's character is so obsessed with this guy and how he did the trick that he completely, creates this amazing new technology, the sci-fi wonder, and he doesn't give a fuck about it. All he wants to do is get the damn trick performed. And I
it's like you could just get money and clone the money and food. You can clone food. Like,
he doesn't care.
You can end world hunger.
He's so obsessed. And there's tons of little winks to the audience ahead of time. How they talk about the old woman who's got the fishbowl between her legs. And it's all performance art. And Christian Bale says something like, you have to be 100% dedicated to your craft at all times. Yeah. He was actually referring to himself. But yeah, I love the movie. It's my favorite Christopher Nolan film, hands down.
It has been a minute since I've seen it, but yes, I really like it. And again, me being a big Batman fan, I like what he did with the Batman mythology, how he kind of, set it in a real world, but it wasn't super realistic because none of that shit could happen. But
Right.
also he kind of like infused his love of like the James Bond movies into it, and kind of made it his own thing, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I look at his list, and most of these movies, not most, but I'd say 50% of these movies I have at 5-star ratings. Inception.
Dude, I love Interstellar.
Yeah.
What about you?
Interstellar is so good. I think that is a underrated film by the community of Nolan fans, because I think it's
disappointed myself, and I actually brought this up. I do a podcast with a friend of mine called Here's What I Don't Get.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I brought in one of the things that upsets me is like when I accurately predict a twist like early on in the movie, and then I did that too. And then I don't get to be surprised, but I still really enjoy Interstellar. But I would have liked to have been like, oh, instead I'm like, oh no, I know what's happening.
I know you're talking about when he communicated with himself at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm like,
said it right away too. I'm like, it's him.
Yeah,
it's him, because you know Christopher Nolan, and that kind of hurts it too. That happened to me with Shutter Island, and that's one movie I couldn't get past. The fact that I knew the twist right away. It didn't have enough other things working for it, where, I mean, that movie really was built upon the twist reveal, whereas I think Interstellar just has enough interesting stuff going on regardless. That was just the cherry.
Yeah, it didn't seem like the movie existed for a twist, really.
Right. It's an M. Night Shyamalan film.
Yeah, the twist was just something else. By the way, speaking of directors I love who I haven't watched any of their shit in years, Scorsese. I think the last thing I saw of his was Hugo. I didn't even see Wolf of Wall Street or The Irishman.
Scorsese has a lot of good stuff, but it really is kind of just that's a director I would say that really has one molding that he likes to fit in. You know, it's always the mob boss type of, and he's
not always. He does do a lot of mob stuff, but he's, and I know we're like on a tangent about Scorsese. I just wanted to say like briefly, like he has made movies that I love. The Aviator, I love.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Aviator, so I guess.
He's made a bunch of movies I really, really enjoy. But yeah, for whatever reason, he didn't make the list. And for whatever reason, I haven't been watching his new shit. I should get to that at some point.
Well, let's get to your next one on the list first. And that is, are you liking these segues I'm attempting? We have Mel Brooks, comedy legend Mel Brooks. This is a great pick.
Yes, Young Frankenstein is my favorite comedy of all time. But like he really introduced me to my love of parody and making fun of something you love, which I ended up doing multiple times throughout my life. Like I said, I had my senior thesis is like a parody of like those feel good like dramas and whatnot of overcoming obstacles. And we're pointing out how dumb they really are. I love how he parodies stuff and like the little jokes that he puts in.
How much do you hate those hacks that basically ruined the entire parody? You know, the not another whatever, the disaster movie,
scary movie, not another teen movie. A few of them are like the first scary movie was fine.
Yeah, the first
and one. I feel bad because like Airplane's great, and the Airplane guys ended up doing some of those movies and they sucked.
Yeah, but Airplane 2 sucked.
Airplane 2 sucked. What's the one they did with Val Kilmer years ago? Top Secret is really good. But you're right. That 2000s era of like epic movie, superhero movie, because a lot of times they were looking at like movies that were coming out and then just parodying scenes from the trailer, like. And like, hey, look, it's Iron Man and Superman. It
became the really bad Family Guy observational humor. Joke. And I like Family Guy, but it's like the worst Family Guy where it's just Gary.
Those I hate.
Bicycle and,
But movies like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein and Spaceballs too.
So good.
Blazing Saddles
remember when they tried to cancel that one online years back? Because
they've been trying to cancel that movie.
Just found out about it.
Adam, they've been trying to cancel that movie since it came out. What are you talking about?
That's true.
Back in the day, they weren't even mad about the N-word stuff. I think people were mad about the farting in the movie.
I declare.
Yeah. No, Blazing Saddles is great. There's so many lines of dialogue that like you have to think about it for a second.
Seen that one. Is Gene Wilder have a cameo in that?
Gene Wilder is a main character in it. He's the guy. He's the sharpshooter. But he has like the shaky hand.
Okay, yeah. It's like I said, it's been like 15
I love when he's
years
just like,
since I've seen that.
Look at my hand, and he's like steady as a rock. He's like, yeah, but I shoot with this one. One of my one of my favorite jokes is when they think Bart's dead and he comes back and they were like, they said you was hung, and he goes, yeah, and they were right too. And as a kid, I didn't get that right away. Now I'm like, oh, wait his dick. But no, Young Frankenstein, I've seen that movie like 6 million times.
It's a class. It's a class. Mel Brooks is another. He and Leslie Nielsen to me are just kings of deadpan comedy, and their timing and delivery is second to none. You have. It's so funny that this is on here. Dracula Dead and Loving It.
I've been watching that. That's on Tubi right now, and I've been watching it so much. That's the last one he's directed.
It's so weird. She will become one herself.
And he's also a good actor. I like him when he acts in his movies too.
The Schwartz.
High Anxiety and Silent Movie. I need to rewatch. The Original Producers. I need to rewatch.
Those.
I love History of the World Part 1, and then I saw a trailer for the Hulu series for Part 2, and I went, nope. I saw Josh Gad and Kumail Nanjiani, and I went, no.
That's a hard pass.
Hard pass.
Josh Gad is the male version of Aquafina to me. I don't get the appeal. I'll never get the appeal. Robin Hood Men in Tights. That's a good
one. And like I said, he really knows how to take a movie as a framework and point out some of the ridiculous stuff in that movie, but he also loves to throw in a lot of his little jokes. Like the you actually did a voice role in it about someone else we're going to talk about, but the Halloween parody I did, the Halloween in 5 minutes. Yeah. I probably wouldn't have done that if I like didn't know Mel Brooks. Like I was like, hey, I'm going to take something I love and point out like some of the ridiculous stuff in it and just have fun with it and add little gags here and there. There's little stuff, like usually jokes have like a setup and payoff, but he's good at just throwing random shit in, like walk this way. When he's like, hey, walk this way, and then he walks with the cane, and then Gene Wilder also walks with the cane and realizes he didn't have to do that. There's shit like that you wouldn't really think of. His movies get funnier the more you think about them.
I was thinking of my favorite scene in Spaceballs, which I think is close to the end, where they're at the bar and the guy just starts convulsing because he ate something bad, and the creature rips out of his chest, and it does the frog song. Hello,
by the way, same actor that was also John Hurt from Alien. They brought him back.
Way. That's awesome.
That's why he looks and goes, oh, not again. It's the same actor.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I love the back to me.
But you idiots, you captured their stunt double.
Oh my god. Yeah, well, Dark Helmet or whatever.
Yeah.
Rick Moranis is gold, and you got, of course, John Candy in there. That whole movie is just a fun watch. It's funny though that you're watching Dracula Dead and loving it, because I legit for the longest time thought I was the only person that knew of that movie. It seemed like it kind of came and went for Mel Brooks. It didn't get much appeal.
That's his last movie. It's the last movie he directed. He produces a lot of stuff. He actually produced some David. He actually got David Lynch's start with Elephant Man and whatnot.
When Leslie Nielsen is trying to give commands to the two women in the room that he's done the shine or two, whatever he calls it. You move that over there. No, not you. It just goes. It's like a who's on first type joke. Really good.
And at that time, like when I was a kid, I watched the Gary Oldman Dracula. So I loved in the beginning where he had the hair, but then it turns out it's like a wig that he takes off. Mel Brooks, like my favorite comedic director of all time.
Great pick.
I've parodied many things because of him.
I was actually looking for, comedy directors, and I don't know how Mel Brooks did not jump right out. I was looking at Ben Stiller directed movies, because he did Zoolander and Tropic Thunder and some of those, but he didn't have as much as I thought, and that's kind of how it kept going. But
literally the web series I did, Mummy Cop, years ago was like a police procedural. I mean, but with mummies and vampires and stuff, and I was just pretty much making fun of the police procedural drama.
Yeah, the Water Wars series that I did with my buddies was also parodying a lot of action films and the over the top. So yeah, we get it. We get it. All right, let's take the temperature down and go to 0 laughs, full stop with David Fincher.
Yes, Alien 3.
Not a laugh to be found in that film. Not a laugh to be found. Alien 3, we don't count that as a David Fincher film. He doesn't acknowledge it as a movie that he did, so neither will I. But
I'm counting it because it's the movie that introduced me to him, and I fell in love with his work. So I'm counting it.
I will say, out of everything on this list, it might be better than Benjamin Button. I don't care for Benjamin Button. That's the only one that
I don't.
do
Have you ever? Have you ever watched the show, The League, the FX series, The League?
I know what you're talking. It's like the football show, right? Comedy.
Yeah,
yeah. I know what it is. I haven't watched it.
The one episode they talked about how I think they hid like they did like a home sex video, and they hid it in the Benjamin Button case, and they're like, because I know no one will ever look there, and they're like, and they go, who has 3 hours for that shit? But then like one of the characters is an asshole and actually watches it.
That's awesome.
Like I hid it in Benjamin Button because absolutely no one will ever watch it.
That's great.
Yeah, I wish I liked
pretty much everything else on this list.
I wish I liked him as much as other people, but really after Zodiac, I kind of like fell out of love with his stuff.
How good is Zodiac though? That movie
Zodiac is great.
Oh my gosh. And upon rewatches, it just gets better. It's like a fine wine.
Yes.
The Panic Room, I think Panic Room to me is such a fascinating one because the premise is so basic.
Yeah.
A mother and daughter get locked in a panic room. There's a couple killers. Jared Leto's in the mix. One of Fincher's boys for some reason. And the whole movie is basically just a celebration of how freaking good Fincher is with the camera. Because that thing is whizzing all over this house. I just rewatched it for like the 5th time, and it still blows me away how good it is. And it's another movie like Nolan where you think, oh, he's using practical effects. No, he's not.
No,
he's putting CG railings in, and he's putting the camera through them. It's
the good thing I like about Fincher, though. I don't think he pretends that he isn't doing that. Like he'll show you how he does all of that shit.
He puts it all up there. It's really good.
But yeah, like I'm looking at it, like I like the game. I remember watching the game as a kid and thinking it was cool. Love Panic.
You should rewatch the game if you just like it. I love the game.
Panic Room was great. Zodiac was great. Seven, phenomenal.
Seven's like top of the line, top tier thriller. Kind of has a blend of horror in there.
I know
because of
starring
Kevin Spacey's,
innocent man. Kevin Spacey, just illegally, he's an innocent man. If you say otherwise, that's defamation. So make sure you say alleged. So what were you saying about innocent man Kevin Spacey, Adam?
No, I was just saying that Kevin Spacey has creepy vibes to him already.
He does?
So it kind of works in his favor in this film. When I saw Seven originally, I had no idea who the actor was, and he was very off-putting. And now that I know who he is, he's very, very off-putting, and it makes it even better. But Seven is peak Snyder, right up there. Or I'm sorry, Fincher.
I know you're thinking.
Tony, do you have you must have Zack Snyder in your top spot, right?
No, I assumed you were bringing him in.
Oh, this is awkward.
This is awkward.
Well, these
Fight Club.
Aren't official.
Fight Club is good, but it kind of got ruined by film bros liking it a little too much.
I know.
And it has a bad reputation now.
That's like the red pill community trying to take the Matrix from me. Don't say you're red pilled. Come on. Fuck you.
And the worst part of that is that last Matrix movie tried to like fight back, and instead they just made a shit movie. I didn't like Girl with the Dragon.
We don't talk about the fourth Matrix.
I didn't like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo because as it was coming out, like a whole trilogy had just been finished like a year before.
Yeah,
and I'm like, why is he remaking a movie that? Why not just re-release that movie?
Fincher, that was a European movie, Tony. We don't count those. We don't count foreign.
I thought that was a waste of time. Social Network didn't care about
what social networks like that's top tier. Everybody loves Social Network. You're the only guy I know that doesn't like Social Network.
I hate it.
You just said you don't like it. You just said, and I quote, I hate Social Network. Mark it.
I hate Social Network. And then I never saw Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Was that his last one? What else has he done?
Yeah, so he's one of those assholes, Tony, that started doing the whole producing side of things, and he did was it Manhunter? He did some show on Netflix.
Oh, he did
seasons.
He did a few. Didn't he? He like started House of Cards, right? Yeah, he executive produced House of Cards,
and I think he directed the first episodes. He did the J.J. Abrams thing with Lost, where he kind of like got the ball rolling. And
he produced. Away. He produced they made a Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movie like a few years ago, and no one fucking saw it.
They saw the sequel, or they made a sequel, and I think
he produced it. Yeah.
I think it was different actors though.
Yeah, it was all different actors.
Yeah, that's so like why?
Again, they literally just made a trilogy that didn't need to
Yeah,
be
I
remade.
know.
He also did some music videos too. That's kind of where he got his start.
That's where he
before Alien
started.
3.
Yeah, that's where he
Yeah.
started. He did. I did not see, what is that, Mank? I didn't see Mank. That was a Netflix movie, and Netflix movies are notoriously trash. So I didn't want to tarnish David Fincher's good name by watching it.
But yeah, no, I loved House of Cards, and then they, yeah,
Vision, like from a cinematic standpoint, I think Fincher is amongst the
yeah.
greatest. Like the looks of his films are so polished, so well
Mhm.
executed. Panic Room, The Game, Fight Club, Seven, Zodiac, Social Network. He's got 6 gold stars from me.
Yes,
I can't complain. He's given me some really good gems. Let's move
I
on.
I really like him. He's another one I wish he put something out that I could really enjoy again. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the tough part is he really had, like, Christopher Nolan keeps going up in my headcanon as far as
yeah,
directors, whereas Fincher's starting to kind of lose me. He's not directing anymore like he used to, and Cameron, he's lost in Navi Planet. So I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Okay, Tony, your number one
Yes,
is the horror director, I would say, more than
Uh,
anything else.
not just horror. He does a lot of action too.
Yeah, well, he's known.
Um,
He's known for his big
yes.
two. Yes.
I love John Carpenter with every
Mm-hmm.
fiber of my
Mm-hmm.
being. His films, his music, his bitterness toward Hollywood and life, is really
All the
his
flavors.
his self-deprecating stuff, like when he talks about how Halloween 2 sucks and he wrote it when he was drunk and he didn't care about it, which is funny because people were like, Halloween 2 was great, and then you have John Carpenter going, that movie sucked, I shouldn't have did it, but I just did, I don't really care. No, I love John Carpenter. I'm looking at his filmography. I actually did a video last year where we went through his whole filmography. There's very few movies of his that I don't like. But no, even like Dark Star. Dark Star was the film he made right out of college. It's actually the origin of Alien because Dan O'Bannon, the writer of Alien, is in it. And there's a subplot about an alien that gets out on a ship. Now it's a beach ball. It's literally a beach ball with things glued to it. It's very low budget. I actually like some of his movies more than he likes them because he'll be like, yeah, Dark Star was that good. I'm like, fuck you, that movie's great. Halloween, probably one of the most important movies I watched as a kid.
Yeah, it still holds up very well.
Yeah,
And
that
the thing
movie,
is my favorite top 10 for me as far as
the thing
just
is
movies
probably
in
his
general.
greatest film ever. I loved his movie with Kurt Russell, Elvis. That is a really good Elvis biopic. Kurt Russell, because he kind of like depicts Elvis as kind of like a weirdo, whereas I don't think other people were doing it at that point.
Where's Elvis on here? Oh, there it is, way at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yes,
The Fog.
we were talking about this, how directors have their boys, and that's what I was alluding to. Kurt Russell is definitely Carpenter's boy.
Yeah. Now you got The Fog. Some producer got in there and made them add more gore to it, but that movie still really holds up. That movie used to really creep me out as a kid.
Yeah, it's a decent film. Yeah, that's the one that ends at the lighthouse, right? Where they're trying to get. Yeah, okay. It's been a while.
Both Escape movies I love. Fuck everyone. Escape from New York is great. It's phenomenal. And I love that Escape from LA. I love that Escape from LA is just a remake, but done really stupid. Okay. And Tony, I applaud it for that.
I half agree. I watched Escape from New York back in college. I didn't care for it. I thought it did not hold up at all. It's really dark. Didn't really have the humor or anything. It was just this kind of drab, dreary film. However, Escape from LA, I get a kick out of that film. That movie does it for me. The schlockiness, the over the top, like surfing section with the shitty CG everywhere.
So stupid. But he had a lot of fun with that.
Oh, it was so fun.
I appreciate that he was just like, I'm just gonna do the same movie, but like just change a few things and get real ridiculous. That's what's funny,
Tony, is I didn't see Escape from New York until after I saw Escape from LA. I saw Escape from New York, and I was like, this is the same fucking movie, but like way more boring. And Pam Grier isn't a trans in that film. I think she is in the second. Is she?
She's not in the first one. She's in the second one.
I thought she was in the first one as a different character.
No.
Okay, so maybe that was
Well, because the funny thing about Escape from LA, it's kind of playing up as if it's a third movie. Because they keep referencing Detroit as if there was a movie called Escape from Detroit, but it doesn't exist.
This is the misadventures of Snake Plissken in between movies. That's his name, right?
Because
Snake Plissken.
They keep mentioning Detroit, and he's like, "You escaped from New York, and you survived Detroit." It's like, what happened to Detroit? I need to know.
It has a badass ending where he just shuts everything down.
When they say like which character symbolizes your politics more than any other character, for me it's Snake Plissken.
Snake Plissken, yeah.
Where he's just like, you know what? I hate all of you because you all hate me. I'm turning off the entire world.
We shoot when this can hits the ground. Throws in the air. Hits everyone.
I may have made a short parody in college called Escape from Jurassic Park, where I played Snake Plissken with really bad digital dinosaurs. Christine is awesome. Have you ever seen Christine? About the killer car?
No. Oh, I've heard of that. I've not seen that movie, no.
It's good. Actually, a lot of Halloween Ends was pretty much half a remake of Christine, right down to the main kid looking exactly like that film's character. I wish he did more Stephen King stuff, because Christine is great. But then he has a lot of range.
Of Mars?
Yeah, okay. That's when things went south. Things went south after a certain point. Things went south. But like, then you change it up. You have something like Starman, which is like this romantic drama comedy about an alien that takes the form of someone's like late husband. It's really good. Okay. Big Trouble in Little China is definitely an action comedy.
Yeah, I told you I haven't seen that movie. It makes me sick to my stomach. I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah. Prince of Darkness. That's part of his Apocalypse trilogy. It's The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness. And they're all solid. Prince of Darkness has a scene in it, and I've talked about it many times, that has scared me more than any other scene, because the first time I watched the movie, I didn't realize it was part of the movie, and I started freaking out. I don't want to spoil it because I want people to watch it and get freaked out like I did. They Live, another great comedy about the aliens trying to take over. Like
Roddy Piper.
Dude, Roddy Piper was an underrated actor. I'm mad that he mostly did schlock because he was such a good actor.
Tough and Deadly. I've seen Tough and Deadly like 30 times. Yeah. It's so stupid. I'm here to kick ass. What is that? I'm here to chew gum and kick ass.
Yeah, kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble
gum. Yeah, it's classic.
Yeah, and then like he's a little hit or miss in the 90s, but he still has some good stuff here and there. And then the last film he directed was The Ward, starring Amber Heard.
I've seen the poster of this, but I have no idea what it's about.
Do you want to see Amber Heard in one of her first roles?
Did they just take the same poster from Drag Me to Hell and change it a little? There's so many posters where there's just demons' arms pulling someone away.
So he kind of fell off a little bit, but I love his music that he does these days. His music is great. You should also
Chevy Chase and I've seen the poster for this. I never saw it. Daryl Hannah's in this. Sam Neill.
Yeah,
oh my god,
that was during the '90s trend of remaking the Universal monsters, but like updating them. Definitely check out Body Bags. It's an anthology horror film, but he's the host of the movie. He's the zombie in the morgue that's like introducing all the segments.
Wow.
So yeah, he acts on occasion too.
Arnold's in this. Nice.
Yeah, dude. Mark Hamill's in it. Everyone's in it.
Oh wow.
I love John Carpenter. Yeah.
Wes Craven.
No. Wes Craven, I think, is a cameo in it.
Sam Raimi's in it too.
He's another cameo. They're not actually in it. Wes Craven. Yeah. Check it out. I think it's on Tubi or something. But no, John Carpenter. He's out of all these directors, he has the biggest catalog of films that I like, and have watched multiple times and watch religiously all the time.
Yeah.
It's
a good pick. He's got some legendary films on this list for sure.
Yeah.
But not as many as my number one spot. And Tony, honestly, I don't know how anyone in the film space could not have Steven Spielberg at least in their top 10 because
I knew you were gonna pick him. Probably.
Tony, I said top 10. I said top 10.
Oh,
okay. I'm respecting you here.
Okay.
I'm scolding someone out there that has some pretentious list and they've excluded Steven Spielberg because it's too basic. But if you look at this gentleman's catalog of films, I don't know how you in your right fucking mind can't put him on. He's got Jurassic Park, Jaws,
Ready Player One,
Ready
West
Player
Side Story
One.
remake.
Actually, I heard I know you're trying to discredit him, but I heard West Side Story is actually really good. Just no one saw it.
I do want to see, actually, I want to see The Fabelmans, but mostly because David Lynch acts in it, not so much the movie itself.
I heard that's really good too. I did not see The Fabelmans because it's 3 hours long, and I was just, eating supper or something at the time.
Real quick, you know what I love about Steven Spielberg?
Yeah.
He'll produce like these Transformers and these Jurassic Park spin-offs. Yeah. And it's just so his company Amblin makes enough money that he can put out a Fabelmans, and it doesn't matter if it bombs. Because Jurassic World 6 made $1 billion. He could put out his life story if he wanted to.
Yeah, that's good on him. I think he has enough pedigree to his name where he can do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Schindler's List alone probably made him, probably gave him enough to buy 3 more summer homes.
Yeah.
Ready Player One. I like Ready Player One, Tony. So I know you said that as like a slap in the face, but I'm a fan of that film. I like it.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Some people really hated it. I just thought it was whatever. It's a Warner Brothers movie, so it was kind of annoying that like all the big cameos that they put in there were all Warner Brothers properties. I'm like, really? Not one Darth Vader in this fucking bunch? Not one of you is picking Darth Vader to cosplay as?
I was less cynical on it because the book came out before and it was based on the book, and that's the whole premise of the book was about like nostalgia and whatnot. And obviously, by the time it came out, we had all these terrible movies either coming out or they'd already come out, like Space Jam 2, and it was all the same shit. It's like, look at our properties. We have all these properties. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It felt like kind of an old school Spielberg, look and feel, and it was good. But you look at this list though, you have so many iconic films that still hold up and they're still referenced constantly. Saving Private Ryan's in here, the Indiana Jones trilogy, Tony.
Yes. By the way, I love even when he makes like a bad movie, it'll still like people will still remember something from it. Like look, Lost World's not that great, guys. I'm sorry. I don't but the rampage at the end and the scene where the bus is hanging off the side of the cliff.
God.
Even though it doesn't make sense that like there's just a giant glass pane on the back of it doesn't make any fucking sense. But people remember that and like
it's legendary. And of course the gymnast kicking a raptor out the window and it's like that's perfect.
And Hook was not a movie. Hook was a movie I loved as a kid, but as I got older, he doesn't like Hook.
No.
Which if a director hates his own movie, I don't really buy that because sometimes they're just jaded. But yeah, when I revisited Hook a few years ago, I'm like, not as good as I remember, but also not as bad as some people say. It could have benefited from some rewrites.
I think Robin Williams just being in it makes it a little better because, some actors are just charming like no other, and he's one of them. Minority Report is, there's kind of some of the Spielberg movies I feel like started to trend down as the film goes on. Minority Report's one of those for me where I feel like the first 2 acts are freaking great. And then he kind of loses it he doesn't stick the landing.
Really? You know what? I actually rewatched that recently, and I feel different. I think it was solid all the way through.
I just think when he loses his eye, he goes blind for a little while. That whole section is just a little weird and out of place. But maybe it gets better at the end. War of the Worlds is the same. I really like War of the Worlds. I know some people hate this film.
The kid being alive at the end. The kid being alive at the end was fucking stupid.
The boy in general was stupid. I hate him, but there's enough good in the film to outweigh the bad. The Terminal's a great, like smaller scale Spielberg movie. Tom Hanks, he likes Tom Hanks a lot. I didn't see The Post. I didn't see Tintin.
I saw Tintin and Warhorse on the same day because it was a weird thing in 2011 where there were just 2 Spielberg movies in theaters at the same time.
Wild.
So I'm like, let me do a double feature. Warhorse was good. He's gotten a little weird. Like if he's not making like a rated R thing, modern Spielberg shies away from violence a little too much. Like Warhorse, I'm like, this is a war movie. You could show a little bit of violence and gun stuff.
Didn't he a couple years, not that long ago, actually, it was him or the other guy. I can't remember who the other director was that did this, but they regretted CGing the stupid guns out and putting in
E.T.
walkie-talkies.
E.T. He did what Lucas did for E.T. on its 20th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
But then he has since, and to his credit, and I think we mentioned this in our worst director's cut video, to his credit, when that movie came out, when he re-released it on DVD, and I have it, he made both versions available. He's never hidden.
Yeah, he didn't do the Lucas where he's like, this is the only version. Yeah. It's definitive.
Yeah, and like he was forced to do a extended ending to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He really didn't want to do it, where you see the inside of the ship, Richard Dreyfuss, and he had to do it to get another movie made.
So good too, Close Encounters. Was missed over. Even I will say, like you pointed out, even some of his weirder movies that don't stick the landing, like AI, for instance,
which was almost a Stanley Kubrick film.
I kind of dig AI. I found the ending to be like fucking trippy and kind of like sad and haunting and all sorts of good stuff.
Now listen. The ending, it's a common misconception. They're not aliens. They're just advanced robots. It's showing how far robots have advanced. It's a very common misconception.
Really?
Yes, but that was almost a Stanley Kubrick film. Okay. And he was good friends with Spielberg. He was actually recording that documentary. He was like kind of jealous that Spielberg was able to get out so many movies because it took him so long to make films. And I think he was like, hey, I want you to do this. I know you can pull this off. And some people feel a little weird about AI because it's like it's Spielberg trying to be like Stanley Kubrick because it was like after he died that they finally went into it.
You say that and I can kind of picture it now too. Yeah. Some of the stuff that I think Kubrick, like how he would have handled it differently. Yeah. But Bridge of Spies, this is kind of, there's a couple types of Spielberg movies. You have the, you have the family or friendly ones, the very like bombastic, larger than life tales, and then you have his kind of smaller stories. Bridge of Spies is a really good flick. Lincoln, I did not see it because I heard it was really boring and long. And
that he makes movies for your granddad.
Yeah, Munich is another one I would say is a granddad movie. That one I did unfortunately watch and found it to be very tedious.
Yeah,
BFG is terrible. That's one of his newer.
He's got to stop doing like I know you like Ready Player One. It's your favorite movie of all time. You love it. But he's like he'll never be the blockbuster action adventure Spielberg again. He's kind of lost that for me. And it's like, stop trying. Even though Tintin was good, it's like everything after that. I'm like, stop trying. Just do these other movies instead.
He doesn't need to do that. He can age gracefully with his film properties. You know what the other biggest thing I noticed with his movies that sets him, I think, above a lot of other directors is Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, Jaws. They all have fucking amazing scores.
Yes.
I mean, Christopher Nolan. John Williams. Yeah. Christopher Nolan always kind of has that same kind of score.
It's changed recently because he was doing a lot with Hans Zimmer. Now he's been doing it with like a new guy. But I know what you're talking about.
John Williams, though, and Spielberg were just the dynamic duo with these things. You look at this.
By the way, I like that twice he had 2 movies come out a year. So it's like, hey guys, 1993, go see my dinosaur movie and then look at the horrors of the Holocaust. And then in 1997,
were those the same year?
Yeah, and then 1997, it's like I'm making this movie about how slavery is awful and humans are so terrible to each other. And also see my other dinosaur movie.
That's in case this one doesn't do well. I have this guy over here. Well, it's your whole producer thing. He doesn't keep all his eggs in one basket. Yeah. At that time, he probably wasn't producing like he is now.
I love Saving Private Ryan. That's a great war film.
God, that movie is great.
He knows, like when he does, you wouldn't think of him as this like gory, violent director, but when he goes for it, he goes so far.
That Normandy beach scene.
Yeah, and I think it bothers him, and that's maybe why he's like kind of toned down the gun violence and stuff in the movie. But sometimes you kind of need it. Like Indiana Jones needed it.
Yeah,
you needed Indiana Jones shooting people. It looks weird when he's not.
When the guy gets hit with the propeller blade, I got to see some blood spray on the window.
Yeah, I need to see a little bit of blood. All right,
I need to see some spackle. Well, that's that's our list. I think we nailed it, Tony. I think we covered a lot of bases. We don't have Michael Mann on here and some of the other ones people like, but Michael Mann, he's got Heat, which is phenomenal, and then he has Collateral, which not Collateral. Is that what it's called? The Tom Cruise movie?
Yep.
What's the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Is that also Collateral?
That's collateral damage.
Collateral damage. I remember
Fucking idiot. It's collateral damage.
I remember the trailer. The trailer was really, there was a time when that came out around the late 90s, mid 90s.
Yeah.
They really were hyping up the motorcycle with the fat ass tires. Do you remember those motorcycles?
Oh, yeah.
Like 40 motorcycles. And half of the collateral damage trailer was that guy going up and down the stairs on the motorcycle.
Hey, Michael Mann made the first Hannibal Lecter movie, Manhunter. It bombed.
No thanks.
Which is why it's actually not bad, but that's why when they did Silence of the Lambs, they're like, should we reference that other movie we made? They're like, nah, ignore it. Take out all, even though the book is a sequel to Red Dragon, take out all the Red Dragon references because that previous movie bombed. We're going to pretend it's a whole new thing.
Amazing. I just rewatched Silence of the Lambs. Still damn good.
Another one of my childhood favorites. I had a really
fun
childhood.
Tony gathered around the breakfast table.
I literally in my review for Silence of the Lambs, I call my mom because Johanna was weirded out that me and her used to watch it so much as a kid. I'm like, Mom, I'm being told that that's not normal, and we're very like not normal.
I didn't watch many movies with my mom, but I remember specifically seeing Misery like 3 times with her. She really liked Kathy Bates, no matter what she was doing. She's like, I just like that Kathy Bates. What a good actress. As
Did she love Kathy Bates? Did she love Kathy Bates as an Eskimo in the movie North, starring Elijah Wood?
And Bruce Willis as a pink
bunny.
Bruce Willis.
Oh
my god!
Have you reviewed that? We should review that.
Trashy. Yeah,
we should review that one day. Like North was a movie that really existed,
dude. And there's a lot of actors in that. Like half of Seinfeld's in that film. Elaine's in there. Like Julie Louis-Dreyfus is in there. Jason Alexander's in there. There are
I remember in college, we were in the screenwriting class. We were writing stuff, and the guy's like, my movie's name is North. And I was like, hey, buddy, just a heads up.
Oh, God.
I mean, this has happened before, but like the name of your movie is similar to one of the most famous bad movies of all time. They made a horror movie a few years ago called The Room. I'm like, why would you call a movie The Room in this day and age?
Oh my god. Well, yeah, and then there's Brie Larson's Room, which is always fun because that's like an Academy Award-winning film, and then you have The Room, which is the complete opposite.
I'm surprised Brie Larson isn't your favorite director. Didn't you love Unicorn Store?
Well, you know what? I haven't seen it, which probably is shocking to you, but it looked like one of the worst pieces of tripe to ever come out.
You don't have any female directors. Wow.
I really don't. It's because they just really didn't get their just desserts until recently, Tony. They didn't exist.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They didn't exist until 5 years ago.
No, they've always existed. Lana Wachowski, Lily Wachowski, they've always existed. Okay. I also like Catherine Bigelow, James Cameron's ex-wife, one of his many ex-wives. Catherine Bigelow is pretty good. She made one of my favorite vampire movies, Near Dark. And then also Hurt Locker and all that other stuff.
Yeah, she is good. Her Locker's solid. Okay, let's go to the super chats to round this out. Let's fire any more in while you're here. We got Tony.
Get those super chats in right fucking now.
Tony's on the hot mic. Let's keep it spicy. If you guys are wondering, by the way, why I'm wearing my Strong Female Leads t-shirt, it's because I reviewed another film by a female director, Ghostbusters 2016.
Wow. I wore this shirt because that's the
directed
one
directed by Paul Feige, or Feige, however you say his name.
I wore this shirt. I wore this shirt because I'm wearing it in your thumbnail. And by the way, that's a beautiful picture of me in your thumbnail. It doesn't look super not flattering at all. Thank you.
Oh, really? You gave me that thumbnail.
I gave you several options, and I don't know. I feel like that's the bad one.
You sent me the photo to use. I didn't want to ask you for another one on this stream, so I figured I'll just use one of the other ones you gave me. I was looking at that.
I was looking at that before stream. Like, man, I look really bad in that photo. I should have done a better job.
You better fire your publicist who sent that to me. Okay, so we got super chats. Yeah, fire yourself. All right, I think we ended at Matt last time, so we have Silent Evil 999, which is 666 reversed. I see you.
What?
Silent Evil. Oh, Tony, that just reminded me of maybe the greatest plot ever told. End of Days, when they fucking force 1999. Oftentimes the devil's messages are upside down in reverse. So 1999.
1999. Oh my! The year of his return.
As in 666, the devil's number. Well, what happened to the one? Where did the one come from?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
You can just dismiss a number. Okay. Silent, thank you for the $2 super chat. Says underrated director name Adrian Lin. Tony, there's your strong female lead.
No, it's not a female. It's a man, you asshole.
Oh, Adrian is a man.
However, I'm looking at their thing now. Yes, they did Flashdance, 9.5 weeks. Fatal Attraction.
Deep Water? Did you do Deep Water?
Yeah.
Oh, God. That movie was garbage.
Well, he made other good ones. Wow, it looks like he took a break between 2002 and then Deep Water. Jacob's Ladder is really, really good. I made the mistake the first time I got high. I got way too high because I went with people who are like legit stoners and they smoked me out way too much. And then I thought I wasn't high anymore. And I finally made it home and I'm like, oh, I like the movie Jacob's Ladder. And then I realized I was still very high at him and I had a panic attack watching that movie.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, he remade Lolita, which was a Stanley Kubrick film.
He did Flashdance.
Yeah. No, the guy's right. He is he's underrated. Not many movies, but they all seem like bangers. I think Tarantino says he likes the Lolita remake more than Stanley Kubrick.
At first I didn't see where Deep Water was on this, but the poster is very different than what I was looking for. Okay. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. Let's see what Brian Babin has to say. A beautiful $12 super chat from what looks to be an Autobot symbol.
Yeah.
But no comment, just straight up. Here's $12.
Maybe on YouTube there's like a sticker or something that doesn't show up. That's what I was thinking recently.
Well, I don't know because I used to just go through YouTube exclusively before I switched, and sometimes Brian, I've seen him before. He'll just throw out some money and be like, "Please, just shut up already." So thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Shadow Humor. I've seen him around before. $5. Thank you, sir. Adam, I'm watching Christopher Nolan's Tenet. The execution is terrible, and I'm absolutely checked out halfway through the movie. No. Wow. I mean, I can't blame you. Like I said, it took me 2 different attempts to watch the film, and I did have a better experience the second time. But that movie requires 1,000% invested focus, and you really have to pay attention. I did end up enjoying it, but it took a while. Okay, Shadow Humor back again. He is pissed. $10 super chat. The angrier Shadow Humor gets, the more money he throws out. He's just like, oh,
I do want to say about Tenet. I'm sorry, but that lady is nice. She's very nice. She was not hot enough to destroy the world over. I'm sorry. She was like,
she needed some meat on the bones, I believe.
Yeah, she was like tall and lanky. She was like 5, maybe. Like I know she's the gold lady from Guardians of the Galaxy. Like
she looks better than that.
Yeah, probably better looking than anyone I've hooked up with personally. But I'm just like, if I'm ending the world, it's definitely not over her. I'm sorry, it's just definitely not over her.
Some actors and actresses that look really good in makeup. One of which is Orlando Bloom as an elf, as Legolas. Orlando Bloom as Legolas is peak man, in my wife's opinion. She saw him outside of Lord of the Rings years and years ago, and she's like, "Oh, well, I like him as Legolas." I'm like, sorry for your loss.
I was only ever attracted to him as Legolas and nothing else.
Yeah, I think the same for Gamora. What's the actress who plays Gamora?
Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, Zoe Saldana, obviously very striking woman in real life, but as I don't know why, but as Gamora, she's like a 10 out of 10 for me instead of a 9.5 out of 10. Okay, let's keep going. Shadow Humor, thank you again. I'm really sorry for your loss on Tenet. And he's back. $5. It's just insane how much of a mess Tenet is compared to his other success. Shadow, I hope you make it through this whole movie and you continue to comment with money along the way.
The stream will be done and your PayPal's just going to go off of just like...
I'm going to wake up tomorrow with the coffee and it's just Shadow Humor. At least we can all agree The Dark Knight is one of the greatest masterpieces in cinema. Okay, so he must have shut it off, or he walked away,
Yeah.
and he kind of like soothed his pain by looking at Nolan's other work. Yeah, I think
And
Dark
he
Knight
forgot Rises in the
forgot
title
colon
there.
Rises or whatever
Yeah.
the hell it's. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
he has a cool look at his thumbnail. That thing is badass.
That does look cool.
Yeah, he's like a mercenary. He's got the sheets. I don't know. I love it. Okay, let's see. Last one. Shadow Humor really stepped up the game. We have a $5 gorgeous super chat for Toronto John.
Ooh.
Spielberg is tops. He was very prolific, and the 1970s and 80s would have been completely different without him and without John Williams' scores. So there it is. Toronto John fully agrees with us.
Yes.
Okay, well, you guys, that was wonderful. Tony, it's always fun with you. It's always a good time.
Thanks.
I can't stay mad at you.
Also, I can't believe I didn't mention Tim Burton. I like a lot of his stuff too.
Yeah, I think Tim Burton's kind of sullied his own name in the last.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of like as a kid, I mostly watched his movies.
Well, yeah. What do you got? Beetlejuice, Batman 1, Batman Returns is still stellar.
Pee-wee, which the late Pee-wee.
I'm not Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I'm not a big fan of Edward Scissorhands, and most of the Johnny Depp stuff. I'm not really into the Johnny Depp Tim Burton collection with Alice in Wonderland. You don't like Ed Wood? I can't speak to Ed Wood. I haven't seen Ed Wood. But like the Alice in Wonderland and what was the one? Sweeney Todd and I don't know what the Goth Family one was called. There was one where there was a bunch of weirdos in a house.
Oh, he remade Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows. Yeah.
No, definitely give Ed Wood a shot. Ed Wood is solid.
I think
it's probably his best. Huh?
His last good movie and my favorite is Big Fish, and that was
probably
16 years ago at this point.
If we talk about like his best movies, like where he's firing on all cylinders, it's a close tie between Big Fish and Ed Wood. They're both so good.
I should watch Ed Wood then. We got one final super chat. Shout out of a cannon. From Perm. Jurassic Park and Indiana Jones trilogy are eternal.
Wait, so does he mean the Jurassic Park trilogy and the Indian Jones trilogy? What is Indian Jones?
Indian Jones, yeah. Well, that's the eternal franchise that came out before Indiana Jones, the spiritual successor. Tony, the spiritual successor, Indian trilogy, Indian Jones. Jurassic Park. I assume he means Jurassic Park just individually, and then Indiana Jones as a trilogy, because there's more than 3 Indiana Jones movies when you think about it. So he did specify. He went very specific with that.
There should only be 3.
There should only be 3. I agree with you on that. Maybe we stick around for like one more minute because Perm kind of set the standard that people can still super chat. Tony, let's have you kind of outro, tell people where they can find you if not everyone is familiar at this point. I don't know.
Well, if you don't know who I am, then
I don't know how that. Yeah,
you must be living under a rock. I am very famous and important YouTuber, Tony from Hack the Movies. Famous and important, but not yet rich. Patreon.com/hackthemovies. Yep. But yes, I talk about movies new and old inside a video store. You can see my mic's kind of.
Oh my God, he just muted himself. What a jackass! Let me see if I can unmute him. How embarrassing.
Hello.
Oh, hey, yeah, you accidentally muted yourself for a second. I said nothing but praises. What are you talking on now? You're like on a tin can.
Wait, does it sound good now? I switched back to the mic.
Now it's good. Now it's good.
Please bump this USB thing and it fucks me up. Yes, I talk about movies new and old inside a video store with a rotating line of co-hosts. Some of the movies we talked about tonight are coming up. Gladiator is a review coming out this month, as well as Die Hard 3. At the end of the month, I do live episodes. Adam is usually on them.
Yeah,
that's a lot of fun. I am going to start doing more live episodes about smaller topics. This Thursday, Adam, I fell in love with the Twisted Metal TV show.
Oh my God, really? Like unironically?
Dude, it was better than I thought it was going to be. Wow. I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed. Did you watch it?
No, it looked terrible. And I
agree. It didn't actually. When I saw it, I was just like, this doesn't look like Twisted Metal. Am I going to like this? And dude, it was great.
Okay.
I thought
Anthony
they did.
Mackie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the other thing where it's like, I don't really give a shit about Anthony Mackie as an actor. He doesn't really do anything for me.
Yes, but like I was a big fan of the Twisted Metal games. I'm like, oh, is this gonna be another one of those like in name only, and they throw like Sweet Tooth in there to pull you in? And I think it sets up for the spoiler. It's not really a tournament. It does what the new Mortal Kombat movie attempted to do, but it does it so much better. I forgot it was a Twisted Metal adaptation. And I just got lost in the story and loved it. And then when it finally became Twisted Metal, it was like a great reward. You might hate it.
Are there?
There's not much. I think less, like maybe 10, maybe just 10 episodes.
Are they a half hour?
Some of them are like like a little over 20 minutes. Nice. I binged it all in 2 days.
Like Mandalorian length.
Nice. The wrestler Samoa Joe does the body of Sweet Tooth, but Will Arnett does his voice, and he's fucking hilarious.
Will Arnett's always good.
Dude, like the characters of the Twisted Metal games don't really matter that much. They're just you only pick the character because you wanted to see what their ending was, but it actually stays faithful to some of them. Again, better than it had any right to be. So me and Joey C, because he's a big fan of the games, we're like going into it on Thursday.
That's awesome.
And you got more super chats.
I know. I see that. We made it, Tony. We got a couple more. Okay, well that's interesting. I should check that out then. King Cold. Did I say that right? Yeah. King Cold, $2. He's back. Adam, you gonna review the new Godzilla X Kong?
Yep.
When did we start doing the X thing instead of the versus thing?
Well, they're not fighting this time.
So they're teaming up. Like, is that what the X means? It means like
I think it's just Godzilla and Kong.
Oh, that's what it means. Okay.
There's a new. They only showed like a 60-second teaser, and it just showed that there's a new scary ape in the
I saw the teaser. I thought the last movie was just terrible. I really
I had fun with it.
Yeah,
it followed the natural progression.
Shitty Godzilla movie.
Yeah, it followed the natural progression of Godzilla, where like the first one is very serious and then it gets dumber and dumber.
Yeah,
but at least it was entertaining schlock.
I like King of Monsters was decent. That was the one with the what's the like fucking Hydra looking thing?
Yeah, King Ghidorah, my favorite.
Ghidorah's cool. And I really actually liked Kong Skull Island. And I thought
it took me a bit to get into that when I realized they were doing like the Toho Kong. Then I got into it.
Yeah, because I really like the Peter Jackson King Kong as well. Peter Jackson, by the way, almost made my list as well. But again, he has like the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, and then the Frighteners, which I adore.
Yeah, Dead Alive, one of my favorites. But yeah,
is that the one where they eat the eyeballs?
Yes,
monkey brains. He has a couple really gross out movies.
He has a Dead Alive, also known as Brain Dead, and
that is the one I saw. Yeah,
and Bad Taste is the other really violent one he has.
Yeah, those are wild. Yes, of course I will review the movie. I try to review all the major releases, although I didn't see the new Haunted Mansion film because I legit didn't think a single person gave a shit. And it turns out they didn't.
I was going to see it for the live wrap up, but now I'm not sure.
So it made $33 million off a budget of $185 million.
I don't know why they thought that was going to do.
And why do you not release it in October? Why
or at least September, close to October?
We're 3 months away. Like, is Disney really
unless they did it so by the time October rolls around, it's on Disney Plus and people are just watching it on Disney Plus. That's the only thing I can think of. What is
the cost analysis here? Do they really think they're going to pull in like tens of thousands of new Disney Plus memberships off of fucking Haunted Mansion? I don't know. I don't even think the last Haunted Mansion movie did well with Eddie Murphy. It sucked.
No, it didn't. People forget that was part of like 3 movies. Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, and Country Bears were all based around amusement rides at Disney.
When did they make a Country Bears movie?
They all came out around that same time, but only Pirates of the Caribbean made it and turned into a franchise.
Shit, there was no Country Bears movie.
Christopher Walken is in it.
What? 2002?
Yeah.
Oh my god! I didn't even know this movie existed.
And then Haunted Mansion was 2003, and what was
I
Pirates?
do remember this because there's the one with the dumb like jazz glasses.
Yeah. And then Pirates of the Caribbean was also 2003.
Oof.
And now they're trying it again with fucking Jungle Cruise and now Haunted Mansion. I don't think anyone likes any of them.
Jungle Cruise was fine. It was
They tried Tomorrowland also years back, and that
was
flopped.
also I like Tomorrowland. I thought Jungle Cruise was fine. It was really kind of a total ripoff of The Mummy, though, like beat for beat. The characters were all like The Mummy. But again, I think Jungle Cruise cost a stupid amount to make, over 200 million. So
yeah,
when you're dropping that much coin, it's hard to recoup your. Speaking of that, Tony, I know we got to wrap up. It's getting really late, but someone kind of threw some dirt in my eye. They said I copied your. I don't even know. You did, I guess, a budget. A budget video?
You know why they're saying So I did a video on how budgets are too high and how horror movies are kind of immune to it, and Hollywood should learn from them. And then a bunch of people said I ripped off Double Toasted because he did a similar video. And I guess they only get his news from him. So then I linked him to articles that have been saying the same thing about budgets being too high for over a year now, and horror, how it's always profitable. And I was like, yeah, maybe just multiple people recognize this same thing and want to report on it. So that I think I know that guy. I think he's just being a jerk because I'm like,
oh no, he was joking.
Yeah.
We were having fun, but I
did see that video, and I was just like, Adam, just riding my coattails. I can't believe I
I was laughing at it because I mentioned on a different podcast I was going to do a video on budgets 2 months back, and as like the days were going down, I saw Christian Harloff from like the Schmoes Know. He put out a video on budgets, and then another one. There was like 5 different movie critics who all did a budget video. So yeah, clearly we're all thinking the same thing because we go to movies all the time and we live, breathe movies.
Yeah, and we comment on movies and stuff and take note of this more than other people. But no, we're ripping each other off.
Yeah, we're ripping each other off, obviously. I didn't even know you did that video. I was going to ask you, though, do you do movie videos like that? I thought you kind of just did the...
Rarely. I started doing it again. I do them randomly if there's just a topic. I've also been doing, I don't know if you noticed, like throughout the last year, I randomly will cover like a TV cut of a movie or a work
I have
print
seen that.
cut.
I've seen the work print stuff. Yeah.
So I do like little videos here and there, just to have something out during the week besides the podcast.
Yeah, I checked it out after I was informed, and I thought, oh, I've never seen Tony do a video like this where he's just kind of by himself, like me,
try new things,
like sad and alone, like me in all my videos. Okay, what do we got? So yeah, King Cole, I will definitely watch and review it. I'm not holding my breath. It's going to be something I'm going to enjoy, but I will let you know what to expect, at least from that type of film. Jamin D with an amazing $50 super chat. Is that from Canada, Tony? Is that what that means?
That looks like Canada.
So that's a $25 super chat. Thank you, sir. Travis Knight, perhaps underrated for me. Did Box Trolls? Kubo, I assume that's Kubo and the Two Strings. I didn't see that movie, but I think that's the full title. And Bumblebee, which I've seen Bumblebee. Bumblebee was good.
Yeah. He looks like he was it looks like he was an animator. I'm seeing a lot of animation like the PJs.
And
he is Coraline.
He is kind of like oh god, we just mentioned Tomorrowland. Brad Bird.
Yeah.
He's kind of moved maybe more into live action now, or is he?
Yeah, well, he's only has. It looks like he has more live action coming up, but he only directed. Like he was like the lead animator and producer for like Kubo, Missing Link, Box, and Paranorman, which I love. But it looks like
he directed it.
Huh?
He directed Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah, he did Kubo and then Bumblebee. Those are his only 2 directed movies right now. But it looks like he could. Both of them. I didn't see Kubo here; it was good, but Bumblebee was pretty good.
Yeah, that was solid.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for pointing him out. We'll keep an eye on him going forward. And Drunken Atheist Studio for $2. Twisted Metal was a lot of fun. You have some support, Tony. You have some people. How excited are you now that you're like so implanted in the Sony cinematic universe? I know you love Uncharted.
Nope.
And I know you're very excited for the Gran Turismo movie coming out. That definitely.
Oh shit! Should I add that to the list?
Does that come out? Oh, Tony, you got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out Thursday, which I'm actually very excited for.
The very end of the month, I'm doing what is the worst Ninja Turtles movie. So I was waiting for that to come out, and we're going to go through all the theatrically released ones.
That's funny because I was going to be doing a Turtles related stream this Friday as well on that same topic.
Well, I ripped you off.
Yeah, well, I mean, when are you doing it?
The end of the month, like the very end of the month, because I need time to watch all that shit. So I'm putting it at the very end of the month.
Okay, so I suppose you wouldn't want to come on my little channel Friday and argue them if you don't remember them.
No, I would not be good yet for that.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's fine. No, I get it. I get it. We'll save the material for your own fucking channel. Okay, Turismo is a lot of fun. I think Gran Turismo is going to be garbage, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be okay.
Yeah. Check out Turismo. Like, how big were you into the games?
I am familiar with them. So I never was a Sony pony until PlayStation 3 after my Xbox red ringed and Microsoft told me to jump off a cliff. And I never went back after the 360 era. So I've definitely dabbled in some of them, like Twisted Metal Black and a couple of whatever the sequels were. I'm familiar with the formula enough.
Yeah. It cherry picks a lot of stuff from all the lore. A lot of Twisted, like Sweet Tooth.
I don't know the lore. I played the
I know.
I played the multiplayer.
You don't have to, because like throughout the show, I'm like, oh shit, that's Twister. That's the old Lanny. And I'm like, but you don't really have to know that to enjoy it. It's like a bonus if you're a fan. But Sweet Tooth is very much the Twisted Metal Black Sweet Tooth. He looks exactly like it.
On a last sour note, Tony, because I just was thinking of the Sony garbage that they produce that they make all the time. Did you ever see the shitty Ratchet and Clank movie?
No, I never played the game, so I never went out to see it.
Well, so this is insane. So they came out with that fucking movie. It didn't look great, by the way. It looked like a video game cutscene at the time, and it turns out it was. So the game came out like 2 weeks after, and it contained almost the entire movie as cinematic sections of the video game.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I didn't know, because I remember when that came out, I'm like, why aren't there more animated video game movies? And now there probably will be because of Mario. Like when they made Sonic live action, I'm like, why would you do that? Just make an animated Sonic movie.
But we did get Jim Carrey at least having fun again.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I watched the first Sonic movie and I went, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, it's great. I'm like, yeah, it's whatever.
It was not great. It was like a fine movie.
I wish they had the original Sonic design so all the fucking Sonic fans would bitch about it for years to come.
The Sonic design? That was so disgusting.
They didn't deserve a good Sonic out the bat. Everyone else, like us, we all had to suffer through our first adaptations.
I know. The Mario movie still burned into my retinas from back in the 90s.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, guys, go over, follow Tony, subscribe to him.
Follow me on X.
Follow. We're trying to end this civilly, and then you have to do that. Yeah. Follow him on Twitter, the artist formerly known as Twitter, now Elon Musk's abortion, X. Go over there. Subscribe to Heck the Movies, and subscribe here if you somehow came. I don't even know. Do people show up on these live streams from YouTube's random like search history? I can't imagine.
I don't know. I community posted it, so hopefully that helped.
Well, maybe people from Tony are here. So subscribe to the channel, and we will see you Friday night. But before that, I have a big ass Ghostbusters roast video coming out hopefully tomorrow. If I can suffer through the editing process, I'll get it to you. So look for that. All right, take care. See you next time. Now we